Hello everybody. Welcome to our discussion today. Hopefully the chat box works this time. I am going to unmute Nantanjex in just a moment after I fix the chat box. and hopefully, it fixes. Okay. There we go. Cool.
Rainy
Hello?
Sunday. I
Hello?
don't know, but you go. Oh, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Were you not able to hear me before?
Oh, I just unmuted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Hi.
Here I was thinking I was speaking. Well, as I was saying to myself, apparently, instead of good morning Source Gaming this week, we thought we would do Hyrule Warriors discussion because we didn't want to leave you guys hanging, and both Matt and I have been wanting to talk about the demo and many of the things that have come from it, and we thought, well, why not just combine the two, make it easier, and then you guys can also be here to ask us any questions that you might have for us.
And chime in with your own thoughts if you want.
Exactly. So the way we're going to do this is because I know that not everybody wants to be spoiled on some of the stuff that's come out of this, not only from our speculation but also just from some of the leaks and hints and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start this with our non-spoiler, just views on the game itself,
Yeah.
gameplay wise, presentation wise, etc. And then when we get into the story, we'll start with the stuff that was in the demo, and then I'll give the warning for when we're going to move beyond that to the real speculation and spoilery stuff with the known leaks and some of the stuff we can sort of figure out from there.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems like a good approach for everybody.
Yeah.
So with that all in mind, let's start with our general impressions of the demo and stuff. And for me, because I'm already talking, I really liked it personally. I'm a big fan of Hyrule Warriors. I think everyone knows that. And I went into this demo expecting to like it, and I did. I was fairly impressed with how much it looked like Breath of the Wild. I was fairly impressed with some of the Breath of the Wild mechanics that they've added into the game. It's just really fun running around areas that are vaguely similar to what they were in Breath of the Wild. Like you can see that they're trying to make it as close as possible, but adding stuff like buildings and towns in there. But you can also sort of tell that it's not quite as accurate as it should be. But I still enjoyed playing this game. It reminded me of a lot of the stuff I like from Hyrule Warriors and a lot of the stuff I like from Breath of the Wild. Not perfectly. I do have some reservations about some things and how it's represented both games. But overall, I think I'm on like a net positive for this demo.
I'm a little more mixed. So, unbeknownst to everybody in the chat, I played around 12 hours of this game because I was recording footage for it for a video that I was doing to discuss the frame rate of the game, and every single one of those recordings corrupted. So I have played too much of this game.
Too much of 2 chapters.
Too much of 2 chapters and 3 side missions. Also, as a side note, I'm using a new microphone, so please tell me if it's too loud or if you can hear like popping and stuff, because it might be a little too close to my face. Okay, cool. So overall, like it feels different from Hyrule Warriors. It still feels like a Warriors game, but it's missing that kind of finesse and polish that the combat of Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors had. And I think that's because Team Ninja isn't on this game this time. Because they did a lot for those games. And I always thought that it was just like one guy from Team Ninja on the team, but no, like several of the head like programmers, artists, technical artists were Team Ninja people on Hyrule Warriors. And it's really weird that they're not working on this one.
I wonder if it's because of how much more involved Nintendo's own studios are with
maybe, because
many people.
Yeah, I definitely notice that the combat is trying to evoke Breath of the Wild feeling, because a lot of the combos are very similar to that kind of animation.
Yeah.
And that's I don't know how I feel about that, because I always thought that Breath of the Wild's attack animations were a little weak. um
I definitely agree on that. One of the things I noticed when I was doing this stream of just my first impressions over on Twitch was that you couldn't change the button layouts anymore. Because
Oh
in the
yeah.
original Hyrule Warriors, you had the Warriors layout, and then you had the Zelda layout, effectively, as they called it. And
Well,
that's been removed from this game, which seems very odd to me. And I started wondering how much of it's because of they obviously had to change up some of the way the buttons and stuff are laid out in Breath of the Wild, because Link can now jump and stuff.
yeah, now
And
the
maybe more
regular
reflecting
Zelda
that.
layout is Y to attack, so
Mhm. So they've just kept it like that. They've kept it the Breath of the Wild style, which I'm not as big a fan of, to be totally honest.
mm.
If they really wanted it like Breath of the Wild, they should have kept the ability to jump, which they haven't.
I'm actually surprised, because I thought that you were gonna be able to jump from the gameplay, but no, it's just like Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors, where you have like one or two moves that rise you into the air, and then you can do like a simple air combo.
Yeah, it's got a lot of aerial game, at least for the characters, both Link and Impa. And I think that's because everyone seems to have a paraglider
Oh yeah,
now as like a default part of their moveset.
I don't
So
know
obviously,
about
if you've
Zelda
only
though,
played it,
because
Zelda does have
I
one.
couldn't get her into the air. Okay. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I dropped down with her once and she pulled it out. I remember now.
Yeah, no, I've managed to do it. You could, because every character can war jump, which is just a very quick way
Oh
of
yeah,
doing it.
yeah.
But Zelda's second X combo, where she makes the stairs of ice and runs up them, it's somewhat finicky, and I don't know if it just means I haven't unlocked further combos because I haven't been able to. But you can jump from that into paragliding. I've
Okay.
managed to pull it off like once, but it's the timing on it is very tight.
Okay.
But every character has a paraglider, and they seem to be building up aerial combat more, which is, I know, something Omega Force did for the new Pirate Warriors game as well. They had a bigger focus on aerial combat.
The
Which
thing
is
is,
kind of interesting for Zelda, because
yeah,
it's not like Hyrule. It's not like Breath of the Wild has a big focus on aerial combat.
yeah. The thing about Warriors is that the main Warriors games, Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, Warriors Orochi, they've all had aerial combat. Since the beginning, they've all had a jump button. So like, it's mainly just been the crossovers that are lacking that.
It's strange then that they wouldn't add it to Breath of the Wild, considering that game has a jump button and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think there's definitely both good and bad aspects to this. One of the things that I was sort of down on is that I feel like Hyrule Warriors is just slightly more charming, because it's a bit more bombastic and a bit more of a celebration of all of Zelda.
Yeah.
Whereas this is obviously just Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
And the Breath of the Wild art style as well, I don't feel is as colorful as the Hyrule Warriors art style
it's
was.
very muted.
Which, I mean, is no fault of like what the developers had to do. They had to follow the Breath of the Wild art style. That's just a fault of that. But even some of the models and stuff, it feels like the textures and stuff are lower quality in this game than they even were in Breath of the Wild. Like, I don't know if it's just a change in the lighting or stuff, but I've definitely noticed the way certain scenes look. I think Zelda's room in like one of the opening cutscenes looks like all the wall textures and stuff are slightly lower quality than they were in Breath of the Wild. It could be a lighting change, just making the textures look bad, but it was something I really noticed like right off the bat.
It's probably a performance thing, like a way to optimize it, which I kind of alluded to this earlier, but the frame rate's not good in this game, and And I realize going back that Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U, the frame rate was not good in that either. And Age of Calamity is definitely doing like a lot more complex things. Keep walls can be destroyed. There's dynamic grass everywhere that reacts to your movement and can catch fire. But like it's kind of disappointing that this game seems to be running at 720p, and has a frame rate like this bad, because it like averages around 25 frames per second.
Yeah. See, I'm one of the lucky people who doesn't see frames, so
Oh yeah,
your at all.
Your eyes can only perceive 2 frames per second.
Exactly. So, like the frame rate on this didn't bother me at all, and I know some people have said it's made the game unplayable for them, but it really hasn't for me.
I noticed
the only time unless it's like really inconsistent, which doesn't seem to be the case. It just seems to be low.
It is actually really inconsistent. It's constantly going up and down between 30 and 20. It really takes a hit.
For me, that's like a minor frame rate diff. It was more like 60 to 30 or something strange like 57 to 33 or something like that. Then I might notice.
Oh yeah, 60 to 30 is what the Link's Awakening remake does.
Oof. Yeah, and that one I notice a lot. That's one of the few games I've really picked up on the frame drops.
So when you get the spoils from beating a boss, 3 treasure chests spawn and the light appears, the frame rate tanks like severely when that happens. That's like the most prime example of that happening, and I don't understand why, because it's just like lights being pulled up. Are they like projecting light?
And like when you destroy I have noticed that when you've destroyed a base, and like when you destroy the big skull base and the chest appears in the middle, I have noticed stuff slowing down, but the falling debris and all that sort of masks it.
Yeah,
I feel like I've definitely sort of picked up on the slowdown when that happens, but at the same time, because it's just you're effectively just watching the fort crumble while running towards the chest, I don't feel like it's affected me from a gameplay perspective.
Yeah, the environment being able to be destructible is actually really cool, and it's something that I don't recall seeing in any other Warriors game. The fact that enemies can break into keeps and effectively just like destroy them it's kind of really interesting, and I'm wondering if they're going to do more things with that later.
I hope they will, because there are some points in the game story, like in Akala, where they're meant to just basically destroy everything. And having those later game stages where the enemies are just overrunning and breaking down all the barriers and stuff would be really cool, especially the Guardian in Chapter 2 of this, where it like busts open the keep walls. That's too big to actually get through it normally.
That's such a funny moment. It's just like, I think we're safe now. It should be good, and then you walk in and the Guardian crashes through the wall. I hope that maybe you have to defend some towns later in the game and you just watch them be destroyed. That would be really, really cool.
That would be cool, yeah, because obviously, like, a lot of the smaller things are breakable. Trees, enemy forts, like, what's the right word? Scaffolding, that's it. And like enemy forts. But actual keep walls and stuff, the Guardians and the bigger enemies seem to be the only one who break them, and there aren't any Guardians, obviously, in Hyrule Field. But if we get a later Hyrule Field, I hope all those walls around like the Guard Keep and Lon Lon Ranch suddenly become destructible.
Yeah.
So that the Guardian can plow through buildings and stuff like that.
Man, Lon Lon Ranch is already screwed up in this game. What happened?
It's just badly kept, you know. There's been bad rain. They haven't kept the field flat. The horses are... That's why there are no horses there, you know. It's not runnable at the moment. They've got to fix it up.
Oh, yeah. Bad Takes Jake says, some Musou games have towers and barricades you can break down. Yeah, that is true. Samurai Warriors definitely has that, and I've played a lot of that.
Okay, I haven't. I do want to play Samurai Warriors 3, though.
It's good. It's good.
Mm.
The Takamara mode is not though. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Uh,
sad.
but yeah, I've never seen this kind of like destructible environment before, which is really ambitious. If this is the first time they've done that.
Yeah. It's cool. I appreciate it. Vincent C says, I feel like this game tries to evoke the feel of Breath of the Wild and its fantasy while at the same time being less cool than Breath of the Wild. I mean, I get that because they're different types of games. It's trying to evoke the Breath of the Wild world and style and all that, but a big appeal of Breath of the Wild, that's something that made it cool, is this big open world for you to explore and discover and try and figure things out. Where in this one, it's not. It's a Warriors game, so you're just told, yeah, here's a town, go to the town. There's nothing you can really do in that town but fight monsters, but there you go. It's trying to go for a different feel, different type of cool, I guess.
Yeah, Warriors games tend to be fairly by the numbers, I guess. These games are made on the assumption that they can reuse assets like crazy. And you definitely see that in this
especially in this game.
demo. I am assuming, and I think I'm right, that most of the enemy models and NPC models are just straight from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, probably. I think there's a couple new ones where they need like more Hylian knights and their generals. And we've seen like the Impa soldier, the Sheikah general, with the banana earrings is a slightly more enhanced model of the bigger the Yiga Grandmasters or whatever they were called. So there's a few, but all the enemies are obviously just the ones from Breath of the Wild, or the same ones. Although I do kind of appreciate that they just come in different sizes. Like, at first I thought it was funny that they were like giant bokoblins as basically acting as generals, but look the same. But then I realized that all the regular bokoblins as well are all varied in size. You get like small ones, regular size ones, slightly bigger than normal ones. Like, it's weird because it just looks like they've clicked the model, gone to stretch, and just whooped.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I sort of appreciate the variety that's not necessarily needed, but was done. It's like a little touch. It's nice.
So I think part of the reason that this game is performing badly is because of those models. I don't know if they've touched them up. I hope they've touched them up. But if they've left them untouched, Breath of the Wild was a game where you were only really meant to have like 3, 4, 5 enemies on screen. And there's way more than that. I noticed immediately when playing that the enemy count, the enemies that appear around you, is way lower than Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors. Like in Fire Emblem Warriors, I can get 200 kills in like the first 10 seconds of a level, whereas in Age of Calamity it takes 5 minutes. There's so few enemies that I can only get like 100 within the first 5 minutes, actually.
I haven't felt like it's been, that low, but I do agree there are less enemies on screen.
Yeah, seems to be...
They come in, rather than them being so many all at once, they seem to come in big groups where there's like groups of, say, 10 to 20 of them all at once. Yeah. And then they're like pockets of them instead of just having an endless stream. So once you've got rid of them 10, 20, then there's another 10, 20 sort of thing.
Yeah. Once you get rid of like a pack of enemies, more appear in the exact same place, and that's a little... That takes me out of it a little bit, because it's like, they weren't there before, but now they're here. And I don't remember having that problem in Hyrule Warriors. Sure, enemies like popped in, like really close to you, but once they were there, they were always there. They didn't like put more enemies there spontaneously unless there was an event on the map or something.
Yeah, I think there's an in-universe sort of reasoning as well. So, as in Hyrule Warriors, they had them crystals that were meant to be spawning enemies.
Yeah.
And it's sort of explained that these crystals are just warping enemies in, whereas Breath of the Wild has nothing like that.
Yeah.
So the enemies just appear without explanation.
Yeah.
Which is odd. It doesn't even have the Calamity's not out yet, so you can't even say it's the Blood Moon or whatever.
Yep.
Stuff that they wanted to do. So that one is a bit odd, but I guess it's just chalking up to gameplay.
Oh
Just
yeah.
gaming stuff.
Chat brings up a very good point. Be thankful
Mhm.
that this is not an open world game.
Yeah.
Because Dynasty Warriors 9 is fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Bad move there. Let's talk about the three characters then. So Link, Zelda, and
Okay.
Impa. And just right off the bat, which of those three do you think was your favorite to play as?
Link.
Link. Okay, mine was Impa. Interesting. So why was Link your favorite?
Link has the most versatile moveset and the best air game.
Mhm.
Basically he can destroy like groups of enemies through just his first combo. You just go Y, X, and then you're in the air, and then you mash Y, and you destroy everything around you without it being able to touch you because you're in the friggin' sky. And Link to me feels like the only connection to the original Hyrule Warriors because his moveset is very similar. The animations aren't as good, they're not as fluid or fast,
Mhm.
but it still feels kind of like Hyrule Warriors Link.
Okay.
I like what they're trying to do with Impa
Mhm.
because the whole collecting symbols mechanic is cool. The problem is her teleport doesn't work most of the time. I have had that teleport send me across the map to a completely different enemy several times, and it's just really inconsistent, and it's hard to get those symbols. But it's not hard to get those symbols. It's tedious because sometimes the enemies get knocked away and the symbols aren't there, and you try to get them, and Impa goes through that really long animation of collecting the symbols, and they're not there because they flew away during the animation. um,
Okay. So
yeah.
for me with Impa, the warp thing I haven't actually used that much. Like I accidentally activate it once, but I've never really pulled it off again. I think that's an overall issue I've got with the game in that it seems like slightly more complicated than it needs to be with so many actions.
Mm,
Like the first Hero Warriors had heavy special Muso attacks, then the supercharged magic thing, and then just items. And this one has you've got the items now, which are made up of the apple and the different magical rolls, but then you've also got all the runes that you have to remember, and then every character has a guard, and every character has a special attack. That's the sort of unique gimmick, like Link's bow and arrow. But then every character also has the regular, standard, normal Muso attack. Like, there's a lot of things, and Impa's warp is just something I have not really factored into
mm,
anything. But with that, like the rune thing, I really like, and I really like Impa's speed. I find Link could be a bit too plain in terms of his
mm,
movesets. I mean, he's obviously the vanilla neutral character, which is fine. But Impa's, I really like the speed. I really like the shadow clone thing. I haven't had a problem collecting the runes. I'm pretty good at activating them, taking them straight away, basically. And I just find a lot of Impa's attacks to be very satisfying. The
mm.
runes, whatever, I guess. Riding the ice rock is pretty funny as as Impa. But it's only really effective if you want to sort of clear out all the enemies in the space. I don't think her bombs are as effective as the other characters.
Oh yeah. They're really good
Space
for
is
knocking
fine.
down aerial whiz
Oh,
robes, though.
yes, they are. Well, that's something weird I found just with the runes in general. Like, regardless of what animation gets pulled, as long as they hit the effects. So with Zelda and her bomb spider thing,
Yeah,
it feels like it shouldn't affect the Wizrose, but it absolutely does.
yeah.
In the same way that the Impa's firework does,
Mm.
which is kind of funny. And the same for the ice blocks with the Zelda, because they're much. She drops the icicles on the enemies that run towards you, which seems to act like a blockade for them, even though it probably shouldn't be, because it's not a wall like with Link and Zelda, Link and
Mm.
Impa's. But I've enjoyed Impa's speed. I found her combos to be very satisfying. That she's got a nice mix of aerial and ground moves that I've quite enjoyed. It is just the warping is a bit finicky, but I've just totally ignored it and I've been perfectly fine. So
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah,
I still think she's a lot of fun. It's just I just have that little problem.
yeah, and I think that's fair.
I just find
Everyone's got
myself
different
using
feelings for
Link more
characters.
often.
Mm. Well, at the moment, Impa's got the strongest weapon and the highest level for me.
Oh, Impa definitely has the strongest weapon for me. I'm really disappointed with the Shield Surf. I'm so disappointed with the Shield Surf. It is utterly useless.
It's fun
It
animation,
does
I guess,
no
but...
damage. You cannot kill anything with it. It is good for it is good as a dash attack, but during the combo it is terrible. And I'm so disappointed.
That
Cause
is a shame.
riding around on dudes was so much fun in Warriors Orochi 3 and like it was actually really useful because you could really clear some crowds with it. The Shield Surf completely useless.
That's a shame. With Zelda, Zelda's alright to play as, but she's very complicated in terms of Warriors characters, I've found. Like, everything she uses is a rune, effectively, and her combos are not straightforward. Like, her just regular Y to X combo is very weird and requires metal objects to be around. The best combo I found with Zelda is YYX, where she gets the giant bomb and then just rolls that forward.
Oh yeah,
That's like
that's really effective.
it's really effective.
And you can activate all of her objects that she spawns with ZR.
Yes, and I think that's what you're meant to do with Zelda. You just spawn as much ice and bombs, and you can do the magnesis in your regular rune attacks to build up as much traps and effectively build as much bombs as possible, and then blow them all up at once by activating the runes. Which is fine, but actually playing that in the same way you'd play any other Warriors character, Zelda feels really weak by comparison.
She reminds me a lot of Agatha and Gracia from Samurai Warriors, where they're kind of hurting people by accident and not really competent fighters. Which works because I've always felt that Princess Zelda being playable like before she gets her sealing powers would be a mistake because Breath of the Wild Zelda is very, 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 very not much a fighter. And I like how they've done it here because she's very obviously not competent and doing a lot of this by accident.
Yeah.
She's like
that's true.
Struggling and like panicking, scrolling through her runes on the on the Sheikah slate. It's cute.
Yeah, I do like the way that they've sort of presented her, because you're right, she's not really much of a fighter. I just find the actual moveset itself to be not that fun to use. It's different, and it's totally usable. I understand it, but compared to Impa and Link's pure just run through slashing enemies down at high speeds,
it's a lot slower.
Much more slower and methodical, which isn't quite to my play style. At least not right now. Not with that moveset.
Yeah, I've never liked Agatha in Hyrule Warriors because she's just way less effective at destroying stuff. She only has like one or two really good combos. Yeah, the giant beetle. Yeah. That's the only one. And like whenever I had to play as Agatha in adventure mode, I'd be like, all right, it's time to break out my other controller. Start co-op mode. All right, I'm gonna put Link in there. And then I just put Agatha in a fucking corner. Yeah.
Yeah, Agatha was probably the worst character in the first Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
Like, objectively.
Aside from Lana's goddamn summon gate.
Yo, yeah, I mean, I like Lana's summon gate.
The summon gate is
fucking fun.
It's fun. It's like it's very, very cute, but like, oh my god, it's so slow at killing things.
True. You gotta summon the dragon. I can't remember its name off the top of my head.
Argarok,
yeah. And have that just destroy everything. But yeah, those are the characters that were playable in the demo so far. So they're the only ones we've tried, and the only two worlds we've had are Hyrule Castle and the Gorge of Demise. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one was always a weird one to me, because I remember thinking the Gorge of Demise isn't that big, so how are they going to make an entire map out of it? And it's one of those ones I'm sort of want to go back and compare to Breath of the Wild, because I can kind of see what they've done, but at the same time, it still feels like they've changed a whole bunch of it to try and make it into a Hyrule Warriors map.
That feels much more like a Warriors map than the first one.
Yeah, Hyrule Field, which is just a really big map, basically.
Although I really hate one of the keeps in that, where there's like a platform with Lizalfos on it, because you have to like go all the way around the keep and climb up the stairs.
I kind of like it, kind of don't. The area's a bit too big for that very specific place to be where it's done. But at the same time, the keeps are all very flexible in their size and what they are in this game, which I also do kind of like, because in the original Hyrule Warriors, they were squares.
Yeah, they were all squares. This is the first Warriors game I've actually played where the keeps are different sizes and shapes.
That's cool. I liked that. I like that. It feels more natural in the world.
My problem with that platform keep is that once you get up on the platform, you have to go all the way back around because you can't jump off it.
Yeah, that is strange. I feel like they made it so you can't jump. No, you should just be able to press a button to jump off it.
No,
maybe
there's no prompt.
No, I know. Then you should be able to.
Yeah, you should.
I feel like maybe the only reason they didn't is because accidentally people might have been jumping off of it, and that might have been more frustrating. But you're right, it does mean you have to run all the way back down again.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea of it as a keep. And there are a lot of cool, like, sort of, I like all the scaffolding areas, and there are the big obvious sort of arena looking areas that make up some of the keeps. Neat. Like, I like the second level. I think it might end up being the least memorable stage by the end of the game, because the Gorge of Demise isn't exactly a key location from Breath of the Wild. But I think it's a neat enough area, and it makes me wonder what other more random locations around the map of Breath of the Wild will end up getting to play at.
Oh, Breach of Demise, that's what it's called.
Breach of Demise, right.
Okay, they say it's actually quite accurate, so that's interesting.
Okay, interesting.
I wonder if the accuracy is because they could reuse the model data.
That's what I would have assumed. But with Hyrule Field, it's very clearly smaller than the one in Breath of the Wild. Like, and the location, so that big lake at the bottom, I don't really know which lake it's meant to be, because it just doesn't feel like there's meant to be a lake in that location. There is one sort of south of the gate town, but it's not that close to it. And Lon Lon Ranch is definitely not that close to that area.
For
Lon
sure.
Lon Ranch is like the other side of Hyrule Field, so it feels like they've just cut out an entire section in the middle and crammed everything all together.
Yeah, they did that. They did that in the original Hyrule Warriors too, because they brought back some legacy locations, and like Hyrule Field from Twilight Princess is really small, and then it like gets warped into Kakariko Village and stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lake Hylia is the big example where it and Zora's domain are now next to each other, and are connected. But that one, like, I don't mind because it's obviously just Hyrule Warriors, whereas Breath of the Wild is meant to be the exact same world as Breath of the Wild, and it's very clearly not quite the same because it's just a bit smaller. I get why it's smaller, of course, gameplay reasons. It's just funny. I wonder how many will feel different and how many won't. I feel like Death Mountain with Goron Village and that whole path leading up to it is going to be significantly smaller in this game than it was in the original Breath of the Wild.
I'm a little wary of the level design in this game, because I like what they're doing with it, but it seems like they're definitely trading visuals for performance. And they did that in the original Hyrule Warriors too. Like, Hyrule Warriors, it's not the best looking game, but it's fairly like high quality for a Warriors game on that like specific hardware. And like the lighting's really dynamic. They removed a lot of the dynamic lighting in the fucking definitive edition, which is a bad version of the game. But like they definitely put a lot of emphasis on the mood and atmosphere in that game. And I it definitely looks like they're doing that here with Age of Calamity. And I don't know how I feel about that, because it definitely seems like the emphasis on making it look like Breath of the Wild with all the grass is causing the performance to be bad. The grass is definitely the biggest factor aside from particle effects, but the grass is constant. That's constantly messing up.
Yeah. That was the problem in the original Breath of the Wild, and it's more noticeable because I feel like Hyrule Field in this game runs worse than the Breach of Demise does.
Yeah, it does. It does. Breach of Demise still has frame drops, but it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Hyrule Field, because of all that grass, the enemy counts are way lower. They definitely lowered the enemy counts to try to squeeze some extra performance out, and I feel like they should have just made the grass static. Cause like, if you're gonna get rid of, like, what's the point of a 1 versus 1,000 game if the 1,000 is not there? Like, I feel like lowering the enemy density and the enemy count overall was a bad choice. And I hope that, like, by the time the actual game comes out, the performance is smoothed out like a lot. Because I hope this demo that we got is like a way earlier build than the final version.
See, I think this demo is the final version. I think it's just the final version, but they've obviously just cut it off a bit.
Oh no!
Like, if I was lucky enough to get a review copy, say right at this moment, and I played it, I reckon it would be, it would just pick up exactly where I left off on the demo with like no change. That's how I feel, because they said you can carry your save file over from the demo to the game, and that makes me that and how close we are to the game's release makes me feel this is the final version. They might update post-release, like release patches and stuff that maybe improve the frame rate, maybe do smooth out some of that stuff.
Honestly, I hope so.
But like, unless it's a day one patch, I feel like this is what it's going to be like.
They were really good with updating Fire Emblem Warriors. They were fucking terrible with updating Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. They didn't update that game at all, even though it had like major fucking problems.
Because it's the Definitive Edition.
That's the Definitive Edition. That's why it runs in 1080p in portable mode and makes it run at 20 FPS and drain your battery in an hour. Good job, guys.
Okay, Wii U Master Race for that one. That game. All right, some quick fire gameplay things that I like and dislike. We'll do like one like, one dislike, one like, one dislike. Let's do that.
Okay.
One thing I like is that they brought the command feature from Fire Emblem Warriors. Maybe it was in the 3DS version. But
it's in most Warriors games these days. Actually, it's in Samurai Warriors for sure.
That's good, because I liked that, and
I believe
around just saves a ton of time.
I believe
between them.
I believe it originated in Samurai Warriors Chronicles, which was the first 3DS game, and then it carried over to Hyrule Warriors Legends, and then it went over to Fire Emblem Warriors, and now it's in like every Warriors game.
Nice. It's a good feature, and I'm glad it's here. One thing I wish they had also brought over from Fire Emblem Warriors is that everyone gets experience even when you're not playing as them.
Oh yeah.
Because it kind of sucks that like their experience just stops. It is also sort of really funny how you basically move characters to go fight generals, but they won't actually fight the generals until you take control of them, basically. And both the enemies and the characters just sort of awkwardly stand around. Which you can't see because they're obviously you're not there until you take control of them.
Yeah.
But it is like I put Impa to go fight this Wizrobe, then go off for like 10 minutes and do various other things as Zelda and Link, then swap back to Impa, and they haven't progressed in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, they just stand there.
Yeah, which I totally get, but it's also a step back from what Fire Emblem Warriors had, where
Yeah.
where your partners actively felt like they were contributing to the battle and getting the experience from it. It was just I think that was better, a better
Hmm.
system. And I wish they'd brought it back for this one.
I guess it's my turn now.
Yeah.
I like the fact that every character has their own like special ability and they all have their own specializations. That is something that the regular Warriors games have, and now Age of Calamity feels more like a regular Warriors game rather than this like special version of Warriors, which is both a good and a bad thing. Um like it's good because I'm used to it now,
Mhm.
and it offers more like move variety. But it's bad because there's no magic system anymore, and that's kind of what set these like Nintendo Warriors games apart. Um,
Mm. Yeah, I
I
didn't
I
even really
I
think of the system, but you're right.
I wish that magic system was there. They kind of like put it in Samurai Warriors 4,
Hmm.
but it not being here now is really cuz like building up that meter and then unleashing hell was one of the main draws for me with Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors, and not
Mm.
having that kind of thing prevents there from being like really interesting characters where you're constantly like min-maxing like Young Link and Tiki.
Hmm. Yeah, the lack of a proper burst system is very unusual.
Mhm.
Because I feel like that's sort of a staple in every Warriors game, or at least all the spin-off ones. Because even Pirate Warriors has that.
Yeah.
So it missing it is probably because it wasn't. Well, then again, but Breath of the Wild did have a magic system, right? Or am I completely misremembering? No, it had a
No.
stamina system. Sorry, I'm
No,
getting that.
no magic. It just had runes.
Yeah, never mind then. Yeah, like they've just condensed the magic down into the Fire Rod, Ice Rod, and Thunder Rod for this one, which are all right additions. But half the time I completely forget I have them.
I do not like the items. I do not like the items.
I'm indifferent to them. I think I don't mind the apples, obviously, because that's just healing. But the 3 magical rods can, if I remember I've got them, then I might use them. But
They
otherwise,
have like
I completely just ignore them.
they have usage. They some enemies are weak to certain types of magic and stuff. It reminds me a little bit of the weapon triangle from Fire Emblem Warriors, but like
Mm.
in item form. But like having to use these specific items to get enemies weak is not
Hmm.
fun. And they're like better in certain places and worse in certain places. Like if you use fire on grass, it's better. If you use electricity around metal objects, it's better. If you use ice around water, it's better. But like, whew.
The ice around water is neat enough, but the others I haven't bothered. I haven't actually tried lightning around water. I suppose that's probably
I feel like the ice rod is completely superfluous because you already have
yeah,
cryosis.
that's true as well. They basically do the same thing in
Yeah,
water.
they do the
So
exact same thing.
yeah. The runes I think are whatever. I mean, they're unique for every character and how they function, except for stasis, which just seems to function the same
I kind of
for
like the
everyone.
runes. I wish the runes were in the place where the items were now, and we could have a magic meter. Or like something. Make it a stamina meter for all I care. Make it whatever context you want, but
Yeah.
have it work the same
Um,
as the magic meter in Hyrule Warriors.
I do like that the runes are the new replacement for bosses and or big enemies and their items.
Yeah.
Like I think that was a neat decision. And I like how they work. Like it's not necessarily the enemy type, but what weapon they've got. So the ones with metal weapons that will chuck them at you, you can use magnesis. The ones that decide with clubs to just spin at you, you can freeze.
Hmm.
Like I think they've made it a way where any enemy type can effectively be very easily identified what rune you would need without having to have the rune symbol flash up on the
Yeah.
second when it works.
I
Just
feel
by what
like Because of the frame rate, I'm glad that those symbols are there because it takes a little bit to react for me. My reaction timing is kind of terrible. Even though I play these games on like hard difficulty and I'm generally pretty good at them, my reaction timing is just bad all around. I don't know why. I feel like it's a thing that comes with age. It's just getting worse and worse every year. Um, but I like that that indicator is there because the frame rate gives me way less time to react than I should have. And once that icon appears, I know, okay, they're gonna do this move. I use this rune. I'm good.
You prepare, yeah. What difficulty did you? Because I played through this game on hard and then very hard.
I played on hard. I did not know there was a very hard mode in the demo.
Yeah,
I guess you have to beat the levels on hard first.
No, I think you can access it from the start.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe then you just have to beat them on hard. Because I played through regularly on hard, and then I wanted to replay the first level and try and find Koroks and stuff, and so I decided to do it on very hard.
Yeah.
This has both been like great and whatever, because I've noticed that I don't like. I remember in the first Hyrule Warriors game, there was always a big sort of emphasis to get the mission done in under 20 minutes to get the best rank.
15.
15 minutes to get the best rank, and that's seemingly not the case here.
There's no rank here.
Yeah, every mission I've taken my time and around like 25 minutes because I've just been sort of running around looking for Koroks.
I feel like they got rid of the I feel like they got rid of the rank because of like the more exploratory elements. You can find like chests hidden and Koroks. But I also feel like they got rid of the ranks because you're not that likely to get 1,000 kills in a match. Because of the lowered enemy count. Unless you like hang around for 40 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I've pretty consistently hit over 1,000 marks, but basically every match I've done has been like 25 minutes it's taken me.
Yeah.
Because I've been going all around looking for stuff. I've got every Korok in the demo, at least I think so. I got 13 Koroks in the demo. Which kind of annoys me because it's an inconsistent number.
Yeah, I wish there was an indicator for how many there were in a stage.
I'm hoping that when you meet Hetsu and like Korok scenes are properly explained, then they appear. I'm just curious what they're for, because the gold Scortulas obviously unlock like pieces of art, I guess.
And then they unlock maps.
Yeah, and those unlock maps, whereas the Korok seeds right now, I have literally no idea what they do. The only reason I started collecting them was because the demo has very limited stuff. I think after the first 2 chapters, so I just felt like that was a good goal for me.
I think it's going to be the same thing because Fire Emblem Warriors had Anna, which was the same thing as the Golden Skulltulas. She would appear on the map, and I really like the Korok system a lot better because you don't have like the possibility of a Skulltula popping up on the other side of the map and you missing it because you have to run all the way there.
Yeah. I like it in both. Like, you're right. That was always frustrating with the gold Skulltulas. But also there was like sound cues and sort of an indication of where they are. Whereas the Koroks, I'm assuming I've got all 13 because I've looked it up and everyone else seems to say that the max they've ever found is 13. But actually finding them, I don't like. It's been super mix of frustrating and obvious. Yeah, like the first one I got was at Lon Lon Ranch, and then there's the flower that's on the side of the road in chapter 2 that's really obvious. Next to the buried chest, which is also something I kind of like a lot. Yeah, finding the chest and actually using magnesis on them to pull them out, that was neat. Yeah, but then you've got like, I found a Korok seed under one random box in the first level. And I other than the fact that this box just happened to be on its own, there was nothing that's made it stand out from any other box. And I was like, that's kind of lame. Why is it like this?
Yeah, I remember
that. I'm hoping that as the game goes on, you unlock and Korok seeds are sort of properly explained to you.
Yeah.
That there'll be more indications of how many there are per level and what you've got. Because unlike Breath of the Wild, where it doesn't feel like you're meant to get all 900 Korok seeds, I feel like this one that you are meant to get all the Korok seeds if you do want to get everything.
So... there's an interview where Eiji Aonuma goes, "We hope people find all of them." And it's like, are you kidding me?
He can say that, sure, because he wants more people to play the game, but this game is definitely not designed like, and the reward is definitely not good enough.
They
It
literally
feels like,
give you a piece of shit. They give you a
yeah.
giant piece of shit. Thanks for 100% completing our game. Fuck you.
That's why I feel like it's not actually meant to be something that you do, but
Yeah.
whatever. It's like getting 999 moons in Mario Odyssey. There aren't enough missions to actually do it,
Yeah, you have to
but
buy
it's
most of
there
them.
if you want to, and all you
Yeah.
get is a hat from Peach's castle.
You get infinite rupees from getting all Poe souls and golden skulltulas in Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, and that's like, thanks. My wallet's
Yeah.
full, but thanks.
But yeah, I like that. I like on the map as well. I like that you unlock the way you unlock shops and how the merchant in them changes every time.
Mhm.
Well, not every time, but changes periodically. I think that's neat. I do find the system to unlock stuff. I know not everyone's a big fan of skill trees, but I kind of like the choice you had in the first Hyrule Warriors. Whereas this one just seems to be they obviously appear as markers on the map instead. And the next one won't unlock until you've done the one before. So now it feels more set and in place for unlocking their next combo chain or the next heart, which I'm not as big a fan on, admittedly. And I also just realized that actually in the first Hyrule Warriors you unlocked hearts by going up levels, I believe, not through spending materials. So that's something they've changed as well for this one.
Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about the different systems in this game, because it feels a lot more like a regular Warriors game. Leveling up weapons, making them higher level, that's just regular Warriors. Whereas in original Hyrule Warriors, each weapon was like a great like getting a really powerful weapon felt really good, and like in this game everything just feels expendable, which it's felt like in every Warriors game, so it's just like obvious it's just the same system. But also that's kind of indicative of Breath of the Wild's whole philosophy with weapons too, where nothing matters, just keep getting new ones.
Get rid of the old ones.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. The weapon variety. I mean, obviously, sending the demo, so I can't really say what the weapon variety is actually going to be like for it. But like, Link has a few things here and there, but Sheik and Zelda obviously just have the one weapon each, and so you end up with like piles and piles of the same weapon.
Yeah.
For Sheik and Zelda,
Yeah.
which is just like
It was a good stream of rupees.
True. I've just been fusing them.
Yeah.
Just combining them together so that they get the perks and the levels up, and just keeping one of each type of weapon. So Link has like a branch, a club, and two types of swords.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Bad Takes Jake brings up a good point, where in the original game you could get hearts by finding heart containers. That doesn't seem to be here, which is a little disappointing, but kind of expected because they're not really in Breath of the Wild in the same way that they are in Zelda, like usually. Instead you just get it by doing quests, and you get extra moves by doing quests, which I don't know how I feel about that. It's basically the skill tree, but like actually a part of the game's story.
I mean, I get that in that Link and Co feel like they're leveling up by doing tasks. Like, I like the context behind it. I just, like I said earlier, the skill tree sort of gave you this thing of choice where you could decide what branch you wanted to upgrade and get the different tiers of weapons, monster parts and all that. And while the tier system seems to be here because some monster parts are labeled as gold and others are labeled as normal, it doesn't have the same feeling behind it, because the pieces seem to always be different. There's no consistency. And I think just not having all the information on one menu for each character and having them scattered about the map just isn't as immediately clear on what you should
Mhm.
be doing, because it's fine right now, but once I've beaten the game and I want to sort of keep leveling these characters up, I'm not going to know necessarily what level will have this specific type of beetle
Yeah.
that I need to find
I
in
I
order to get
am
Link's next power up.
I am not a fan of them bringing every single loot like material from Breath of the Wild wholesale here.
It is a bit too
Uh
much.
it is way too much, and like having to cut grass to get materials is so boring. Um like in the original game it was just beating enemies to get
Mhm.
materials, and that's just like a way better system because you can go to a specific stage and you know it's gonna be there because you see the enemy, or you know you're gonna fight this certain
Yeah.
boss. And in this game it's like, where do I get this thing? Oh, you have to beat a mission to get this? Okay.
Yeah,
um
it's not the best system, but whatever. I guess
oh
it's
we're we're
whatever.
we're not comparing Age of Calamity to Breath of the Wild. I'm just saying they brought the stuff over. We're comparing Age of Calamity to Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah, yeah. But all right, we've talked nearly an hour on the gameplay. So, any other
Yeah.
particular gameplay stuff before we want to get into story that you felt like you wanted to
Um
mention?
let me see. I hope that there's more enemy variety than in Breath of the Wild. And it's not just all Breath of the Wild enemies, maybe some Breath of the Wild versions of classic enemies, because Breath of the Wild has like 13 enemies, and that is kind of boring.
Yeah, that is that would be nice. I don't expect him to, but that would be nice. Actually, I just thought of one thing, which I don't know if you've seen it. You might have, considering you played like 12 hours of it.
Yeah?
Um, the Satori, the
Yeah.
Lord of the Mountain, and is the little blue things
Yep.
that they also appear in this game.
You can shoot them
And
to get rupees.
that's what you do with them, okay? Because I found one, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" So I went to go pick it up, and then it ran away, and I was like, "That was weird. I
Yeah.
don't know what that did."
Yeah.
um,
That's interesting. It's another little collectible you can find while exploring.
yeah, but if all it does is give you rupees, then that's fine, because it's more like an extra bonus as opposed to
Yeah.
being like the Korok seeds, which are a necessity. Sort of justifies it being a bit more RNG based. But yeah, all right, let's go on to the story, and we'll start this spoiler free-ish for people, just talking about what was in the demo. We'll do
Um
that for like, well, let's do that for like 15 minutes, just for
be
people who want to listen to that, and
be
then,
aware though, the intro of the demo is a huge spoiler because of
well, yeah,
reasons.
if you haven't played the demo and you haven't seen the cutscenes in the demo or the story in the demo,
You should probably
this
leave
is your
now.
this is your first spoiler warning, because we're just
Yeah.
going to talk about what's in the demo, assuming that you guys have all played it and also at least seen the cutscenes. And we'll do that for like 15 minutes, and then we'll go into. You can call them spoilers. I guess they're not confirmed, but there's been a lot of hints and speculation on what's going to happen in this
Yeah.
game that we
We'll
want to talk about. And I mentioned
we'll
it.
get to
The reason
that.
I want to be so thorough on this is I mentioned it on Twitter as just a theory, and one guy was upset because my theory, I guess, seemed so accurate that he felt like he'd been spoiled, and so I felt bad about it. And I want to make sure that
Yeah.
I don't do that again.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the game's intro cutscene, and
Should we?
yeah, it was an interesting start. It wasn't how I was expecting the game to start.
Yeah.
Uh, with this little guardian falling out of a box in Zelda's study at the same moment that Zelda activates her powers.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it immediately goes into time travel with the mini guardian traveling back in time was an immediate red flag to me.
Oh, absolutely.
I was just like, you could like see my reaction live on Twitch, and I'm just like, oh no. This is
Yeah,
a
I
time
had
travel story.
I had the exact same reaction.
It's weird in the sense I get it in a way that it sort of explains certain things, like how they have the runes and stuff like that, but at the same time, it's a weird type of time travel because it seems to be implied that it's not it's hard to tell whether or not the characters remember seeing the little egg thing before, because we obviously don't know much about where this came from.
Mhm.
Time travel is only really that bad because it depends on how they've handled the
It
time
depends on the
travel.
story. It depends on the
It depends on
story.
the story, which we'll talk about in the spoilery section later.
Yeah.
But right now, from an initial first reaction, I wasn't a big fan of the time travel inclusion.
Oh, I had the exact same reaction. I major red flag there.
Yeah.
We can
I
talk
think
more about that later because it's
Yeah, I think
kinda something.
the big thing that happens in the demo that the time travel immediately also I wasn't a fan of is the fact that it basically makes the characters aware that the calamity is 100% going to happen again.
Yeah.
Because in Breath of the Wild, you get this sense that Zelda wants to study all this cool tech, and her dad's being super paranoid, being like, "No, you have to be the princess and be the goddess reincarnation." And because what if the calamity comes back? And so Zelda sort of feels pressured, in like, "Oh, I need to do this because it's my duty, and in case of the calamity." But like, there's a sense that it doesn't necessarily mean it's not gonna actually happen necessarily. Obviously it does, and her dad, I guess, made the right choice by forcing her upon this, which is a slightly
Yeah.
weird message.
I
But at the time you
mhm.
can sort of see it both ways. Now, knowing that they knew the calamity was coming, you would feel like they would definitely need to spend more time with Zelda focusing her training, and maybe they will in this game, but more so than they did in Breath of the Wild.
A big red flag for me was the King of Hyrule saying Zelda doesn't need protection in the first chapter. I think that's what he said.
When's that?
No
No.
need, she can protect herself.
No, he's talking about Impa.
Oh, he's talking about Impa. Okay,
Yeah, no,
sorry.
because I had this mix up
Yeah,
when
there's no
I was
voice
replaying.
acting during the levels, so I like glance at the
Yeah, no,
subtitles.
this was something I realized when I was playing as when I replayed the level on very hard. I used Impa and Zelda and not Link at all for that
Mhm.
level. So I was playing as Impa and he brought that up, and I was like, "Oh, does the king have unique dialogue if you've got different characters in, even if it should be non-canon?" And then I sort of reread it again when I was playing through the level to get the Koroks, where I hadn't brought Zelda with me, and the line came up again, and I realized, oh no, he's saying princess's aid, as in he's not saying
Oh,
don't go. He's not saying don't go to the princess's aid in that sense. He's saying that's the princess's aid. She doesn't
okay.
need protection. It is a very confusing choice of words.
Okay.
I mean, for fair truth, that's true, but at the same time,
I have gameplay footage, but I don't know if I can put it up.
yeah, I suppose you could do.
Sure, why not? Let's
More
do it.
focused on us talking, Tris. Our opinions are the strong point of this, not the footage.
Gameplay.
Just put on the muted gameplay. I suppose why not? I guess.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, so yeah, he's talking about Impa specifically, not Zelda.
Okay, cool.
Scene. Zelda doesn't appear at all until what you call it, the cutscene after the demo, when which I kind of like that cutscene where Link's like bowing down to Zelda, and then the little guardian runs towards her and he like dives for it.
Oh yeah, one more thing.
That was cute.
I'm very glad that the cutscenes in this game are real time.
Mm.
Because I thought I had a feeling that they wouldn't be, and they'd be pre-rendered because the cutscenes in Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition were pre-rendered, but they are real time, and that is great because you can wear stupid outfits and they'll show up in the cutscenes.
Yes, the very second chapter, I decided to go fully shirtless, trouserless Link.
Yeah.
And it just shows up like everyone's walking seriously. This pack of guards in Prince Zelda, and Link's just walking around completely topless.
I hope
Like,
there's
fit in.
I hope there's DLC and they add the Tingle outfit.
Yeah.
Just have fucking Tingle Link in all the cutscenes being super serious.
Yeah. It is a shame that, like, this is something I brought up in the video I initially was going to do, but then didn't because Nintendo releases information too quickly on this game.
Yeah, they do.
Was that I wasn't convinced that the costumes were initially going to come back because I felt it would be a little unfair if Link's the only one who can change outfits in this game. But I guess they don't care because that seems to be the case.
Yeah, they don't care.
But I assume because Zelda's going to get her second outfit later on, I kind of hope they do have different outfits to the other characters, even if it's just full swaps, as opposed to Link's full customizable.
Zelda has a lot of costumes, actually. She has her snow outfit and her like royal dress. Yeah.
It's the fact that Zelda's got multiple costumes and we know she at least gets the white dress.
Yeah.
And Link can obviously mix and match. I kind of hope, and all the champions will have their version of the outfit where they've got the blue champion stripe, and then their version where they don't have the blue champion stripe.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hope like Impa as well gets different costumes later on. Like that you can unlock.
I would like a costume for Impa that does not look like Pura.
Paya.
Paya. God, their names are too similar.
They're all named after fruit. That's why.
You're right.
Like, all the Sheikah in Breath of the Wild named after fruit for some reason. But yeah, I hope they have like a Yiga outfit or something. It doesn't have to be like an outfit she would actually wear, just a more an unlockable outfit.
Yeah, these don't have to be canon.
Yeah, they don't have to be canon. It'd be good for DLC if they wanted to reference other games. I'm curious what they'll do with the DLC on this one for reasons we'll talk about in a moment, or in the spoiler section.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that they then go to the next chapter. Makes sense to go to see Pura and Robbie, and I like both of them, especially Robbie, who is a lot more Michael Jackson-esque, I guess, than I was initially expecting him to be. He's described as being like a rock star. So I was expecting the flashy poses and stuff. I wasn't expecting him actually to be like during his opening cutscene.
Yeah, I played in Japanese and it's there too. So that is not a localization thing. That is in the game.
Yeah, it's weird. I do like though that Pura comes in, does her pose, and everyone sort of awkwardly stares at her.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just blushes and then acts like nothing happened.
Oh god, her voice is so high-pitched in Japanese.
I haven't listened to it in Japanese.
She's really, really annoying.
Yeah, Triss, Robbie's name is a play on strawberry.
You have heard her. You have heard her voice in Japanese.
No, I haven't heard her voice in Japanese.
Yeah, you have, because it's in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, is it?
She doesn't have an English voice when you talk to her in her house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really notice it because she's a child in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same voice.
Yeah. I'm just writing out strawberry. Very badly corruption of strawberry with Robbie. Yeah, they're all named after fruit. It's strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like that they come in and they sort of they see the Guardian. But yeah, again, they activate. They find out that they can see the corruption and stuff. And I'm curious how this Guardian got these images of the corruption, considering we seem to see everything of it from when it was placed in its box. Like,
there's a neural network.
It's either like a neural network or the Guardian was out when they first went to Hyrule Castle, and then Zelda thought she'd just neatly put it away in a box before heading over to Hateno Village.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, you'll see me skipping cutscenes in the gameplay because I was so fed up with playing this game, recording footage for it, and this was my last attempt.
but overall, I mean, other than the time travel stuff, I think the story has been fine. I've liked Impa, Zelda. We talked about it in a gameplay thing. How she wants to take part, and she now has the Sheikah slate, so she can do something. But she's still not a prolific fighter, so she's just kind of flailing about, attempting to do stuff.
I really dislike Zelda's English voice. like
I'm all right with it. I didn't like it in Breath of the Wild when it first came out, but I know a lot of people really like it. And upon further reflection, I'm passively okay with it.
she underacts. Her crying is terrible. But yeah, back on topic. The story. I like it. It's fine so far. It seems like it's gonna be an adventure story, just like the main group of three and their little robot going to places. It's gonna be Star Wars, but Zelda. Even makes little R2D2 noises.
It's true. Yes, I'm surprised it doesn't have a name yet. Like,
Yeah.
we don't know what it's called. It's just the little guardian. You think they'd at least give it a cute nickname, but
Yeah.
oh well.
I think the English director, the English voice acting director for this game is the one for the DLC, who is Chris Zimmerman, who is a fantastic acting director and a lot better than the one from the base game. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, people pointed out it's saying in English, but I remember because I was in Japan when Breath of the Wild came out and talked to a lot of people about it because it was the big game at the time.
Mhm.
And a popular thing was that the people really liked the English voice, and people really didn't like the Japanese voice of Zelda. Like, they didn't think that she was acting very well or was directed very well. So I feel like people think that the English voice was directed poorly and the Japanese one is fine. It's because they don't understand Japanese and just assume that it must be accurate. It's the same thing that happens with people who like anime and just assume the Japanese dub must be the best one because it's the original. When people can understand Japan can very easily pick up when someone is not performing very well. And that was a popular opinion about Zelda's Japanese voice actor.
I see.
I don't know what it's going to be like in this game because I've not played it in Japanese, and I also don't speak Japanese, so I can't really. They can't really compare. But
She
I just
seems
wanted
fine.
to point that out.
The Japanese voice is definitely the original though, because the lip syncing matches up perfectly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that will be the case.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not it's directed as well.
Hopefully,
effort.
I don't know how it is in English, but I hope it's better than the base game where like only major characters are voiced in English and like everyone else is clearly just a Japanese person.
I mean, I think that the fact that Koga has voice and Hetsu now has a voice in this game means that because they wanted to put more cutscenes in it, so I feel anyone who appears in cutscenes will be fully voiced in the cutscenes with full English voice acting. It's just on the battlefield they're not voiced. It's all silent. But and then I don't think they would just get the Japanese voice actors to do it in English because that just wouldn't work.
Oh no. I just mean like it's a really different sound. Like Link, I played a little bit in English. Link is there's such a disconnect between the other characters' voices and then Link. He does not sound like he belongs. And that was a problem with the original game too, so yeah.
It's because he's just grunting and stuff, and I mean, I guess you can kind of tell, but
yeah,
that's just Link be Link.
Link be Link.
I'm surprised they didn't bother to get any sort of proxy voice like they did in Hyrule Warriors for Link in this.
Well, that was because that was an original Link, not a previous Link. So they got Yuki Kaji, who is one of the most prolific Japanese voice actors to do him, which that's a really good choice. He was pretty good.
Sorry, I meant like in the way that because Link doesn't speak in Hyrule Warriors, he had a fairy.
Proxy, yeah,
and then just spoke for him.
Yeah,
like I'm surprised they didn't bother doing the same thing with this one. Like even with the Guardian, who just doesn't speak, which I actually prefer that the Guardian doesn't speak, but like I think it's cuter when it's quiet and just beeping. But yeah,
yeah,
that's whatever. In terms of the rest of the story, though, I liked we mentioned it during the gameplay section. I liked the Guardian part where it's busting through and you have to try and avoid dying from it. Like I tried to fight it like a big man, and nearly got obliterated, like everyone. So I decided the second time I would just shield bash my way through past its lasers and avoid it as much as I could until it could get taken out at the end.
Yeah.
But I liked it appearing and how they sort of reacted to the one Guardian. It makes it a much bigger, seem like a big threat, and I hope it sort of keeps that threat at least up until the final level.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was neat, and I like that the next part of the chapters seem to be that you get to pick which champion you go to, and it's the four of them traveling to each of the major locations in Hyrule and meeting their respective people. Doing that, I'm definitely going to do Rivali's first because he's the only one I don't feel we've seen anything of.
We've seen him do a finisher.
Yeah, like we've seen proper gameplay of both Urbosa and Daruk's areas.
Daruk looks like he
trailers, I feel like, but we don't even know what the map layout for Rivali's is.
Daruk's moveset looks very similar to Darunia's, which I like.
Yeah,
I wonder if Mipha's is going to be somewhat similar to Ruto's.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she definitely has the water thing.
Yeah,
the big wave. Because
she does?
Yeah, we saw it in one of the trailers.
Oh, good. That's cool.
Yeah, like she's on like the bridge going up to Zora's domain, and she uses it, and it's basically like wide enough that it covers the whole bridge as it goes down.
Okay, yeah, that's like my favorite part of that moveset, so
yeah,
that's good.
It definitely has that part of the moveset still there.
Yeah.
Obviously, she uses a trident, whereas Ruto doesn't use anything. So there's going to be differences in the main part of it, but I feel like they're going to be the same.
I like her specials. I like Ruto's specials, but I don't really like her normal attacks. So the normal attacks changing it's fine by me.
I wasn't a big fan of Ruto's special where she dives in and out of the ground effectively, jumping into water.
That one's kind of useless. But the other one's really good. Yeah,
but that'll be good then. You'll enjoy me I reckon, because that's what she looks like so far.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that's everything that happens in the story. It's obviously just chapter 1 in the story for the base game, so for the demo. So
chapter 1 is way shorter than you would think. It's literally 2 levels. I wonder if it's like that just because they were planning a demo really early on.
I mean, it's all
like they just didn't have any more ideas.
I don't think it necessarily matters unless it's because obviously chapter 2 is going to be 4 missions, because I'm assuming chapter 2 will take up you going to all 4 locations. Whether it then also includes going to the Great Plateau, which we know is the mission that follows that because it was in the Treehouse stream.
Oh, okay.
The Treehouse stream, they had done all 4 of those missions, so we know you unlock the champion after doing their respective mission. And then you go to the Great Plateau.
The Great Plateau, is it already the Great Plateau in Age of Calamity?
It seems to be. So Triss and I, when we were having our discussion, I had theorized that potentially we would see it become the Great Plateau in this game, like we'd see it rise from the ground. But that doesn't seem to be the case, because it appears that new Yiga general guy, the guy with the 2 swords, fight him in front of the Great Plateau. And you can see it in the background that it's still up there. Like the village that him and Link are fighting in is meant to be that guard keep village or whatever that's right below the Great Plateau when you first leave it. So it clearly seems to have already been raised up. But that seems to be the next mission. That whether that's the mission that ends chapter 2 or starts chapter 3, I don't know. But
I just remembered. I'm watching the footage playback, and I just remembered a problem I have with this game. There's no victory cutscene.
Oh yeah, that was something weird. I noticed. There's no victory or there's no opening or ending cutscenes.
Almost every Warriors game has victory cutscenes. What's going on?
I'm waiting to see what happens when the champions appear or Koga appears, and whether or not they have victory cutscenes and entrance things, because Koga looked like he had an entrance scene in one of the trailers, and potentially a victory one. But at the same time, that could just be a story cutscene for when he first appears.
It's either going to be a story cutscene or the cutscenes that play whenever you encounter a boss.
Yeah, at least for the side missions. Yeah, no, the side mission, because we've only really done 2 side missions, I think,
3.
are in the demo. 3 side missions in the demo, and they don't seem to have opening cutscenes for them. So who knows? I guess we'll have to see. It is a shame that at the same time I always ended up turning them off at the end anyway, just to save on time.
Yeah, that's fair.
But especially in missions where when the opening cutscene plays as soon as you're against the enemy character, like I don't mind my own being there at the start and end,
Yeah.
but for everyone else, they can just be a regular enemy as far as I care. But yeah, so I think that does it for all the story stuff that happens in the demo,
Yeah.
unless you can remember anything else.
That's about it.
So, all right. So, in that case, we're going to start speculating, and this is going to start going into spoiler territory for people who wanted to stay spoiler free from the demo, because we're going to include the leak stuff that's come out.
Oh, one more thing.
One more thing.
There is a neural network between Guardians, and that's probably how the little Guardian got the images. Because, like, the little Guardian activates some of the Guardians in the second level.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Of
course. Okay. So yeah, he must have just gotten clips from Guardians that were around town.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're gonna talk about spoilery stuff now. Stuff that was beyond the demo. Using leaked information to sort of piece together the points. So this is your warning for that. You want to remain completely spoiler free. Thank you very much for
leave now if you don't want spoils.
Yes.
So let's just get the confirmed like real leak out of the way before we get into dumb shit.
Right,
So the demo had icons for a lot of characters.
Yeah, on the map.
Very, very interestingly, it has icons for King Rome. Oh my god, what's his name? The Yiga guy. The Yiga Koga, and it had the 4 Guardians from the future.
The 4 future champions: Yunobu, Sidon, Riju, and then I don't remember the bird guys, like the most forgettable one.
Teba.
There we go.
And then there was like Ganon, I think.
Yeah, well, we don't know if it's Ganon or the Icy Villain. We don't really know who it is. There is also the Guardian himself, the little Guardian.
Yeah.
Mad Monk from the DLC.
It could be. It could be.
It's just a Sheikah Monk, but I would assume. And then the Great Fairy as well, and then Hestu. Are all there. So that's like 18 characters overall. Now, there's a debate, because these are just map icons.
Yeah.
At how many of them are actually playable. The ones that seem absolutely for sure, because of their placement, are playable are King Rome.
Yeah.
And the 4 future champions. Those 5 are definitely playable in this game.
Oh my god.
Others could be anything. So the Great Fairies could be playable, but they could also just be the locations of the Great Fairies on the map. Hestu could be playable. It could just also be where you go to interact with them on the map.
Yeah.
The Ganon one could be playable, or it could just be a special icon used for the final boss.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for
Great Fairy. Great Fairy could just be a location where you can go to the Great Fairy and do stuff.
I said, and then Koga they could just be special Koga fights that appear on the map. The Mad Monks could be special. The monk ones could just be locations for shrines that have special trials. Maybe Link does.
Oh yeah.
And the Guardian one we've seen. Well, sort of like the Guardian already appears on the map.
Yeah, but to point out like things to do.
I don't know whether or not that icon is also this one, or whether the Guardian would get its own icon later on. I kind of want the Guardian to be playable. To have a playable Guardian.
That'd be interesting.
Really cool. But unfortunately, it also confirms that Pura and Robbie are not playable, which is very sad, because I really wish to play as Robbie.
I think maybe some aspect of Pura you can kind of see in Zelda's playstyle, because she uses the friggin' camera, which is like Pura's main thing, and after that you don't really have much to do with Pura.
Yeah, Pura was the hardest one I was having. I was for identifying a moveset. Robbie, sure, he has the ancient gear. You can make prototype versions of the ancient gear, and he can use that to fight. But it seems like neither of them are playable, which is a shame. But King Rome, at the very least, is, and Hestu also seems to be, which is good because Hestu was my number one to be playable in this game because I thought it'd be really funny. So yes. But the four future champions.
Oh my god,
are the most interesting. This has also been backed up by people mention it in the chats. The two pilot tapestry, where the opening scene that has the tapestry that appears in Breath of the Wild has actually two people on each.
Yeah, it
Guardian,
has changes.
and they're not the same one copy and paste, because on the Gerudo one, the second champion who appears in it is very obviously smaller, which would fit because Riju is also obviously smaller. And so with the addition of time travel...
So I don't think we're going to be playing the Calamity for reals. Which I said in a previous discussion we had on Good Morning Source Gaming that the worst possible outcome would be that you play the fights and you're like, it's a forced lose.
Yeah.
No, the worst possible outcome is that you don't play them at all and you win.
I mean, you play them, but
you win. This is
You-
is almost certainly an AU. This is not the Calamity.
So what this appears to be is this is like a split timeline good ending.
Yeah.
So there was a 4chan leak which supposedly came out before the demo.
Yeah.
That obviously it's 4chan, so you take it with a grain of salt. But it was everything I was fully expecting this game to become after I'd found out there were time travel, doubly so after I found out who the characters were.
The fact
4chan post.
Yeah. The fact that they pointed out that the Guardian travels through time, which was not a thing that had occurred in anyone's mind, makes me think that is legit, which is I hope it's not, because it includes information about Breath of the Wild 2 in it, which is kind of stupid.
So just to explain for anyone who might not be aware of what this post entailed.
Can you link me to it? I can put it on screen.
I don't actually have a link to it right up. I just remember what it said because it was exactly the same theory I had for it.
Okay,
you might be able to find it in some rumors chat. But basically, at some point in the game, after all the champions are recruited and all this, but before the Calamity, or maybe even during the Calamity, Pura discovers that there's a way to send the little Guardian forward in time, as well as it coming backwards in time. And so when everything's going to shit, they decide that they're going to send the little Guardian forward in time, grab the Link, Zelda, and the 4 future champions from, that you played as in Breath of the Wild, the ones 100 years in the future, bring them back in time and have them take part during the Calamity to basically save everybody and create an alternative timeline where they prevent the Calamity from happening. And then this is all set up for Breath of the Wild 2 that will actually take place in this new timeline where they didn't all lose from the Calamity. This is the new timeline, and this will explain why Link doesn't have... he's not as strong as he would be at the end of Breath of the Wild. This explains why Link is back to 0 in Breath of the Wild 2, and why Zelda, presumably, it would also sort of be very... she still unlocks her powers, I'm assuming, but doesn't seal Ganon away for 100 years, etc. Because they've basically retconned a happy ending into this, so that Breath of the Wild 2 happens.
Oh god.
So,
oh god.
Not a big fan of this.
I'm gonna be honest. I was not interested in this game's story until I found out it might be a huge catastrophe. Because everybody's gonna die and you're gonna watch it play out. That's fucking boring. You know everything that's gonna happen. The whole thing changing the story that you know into something nobody wanted is so funny. Nobody asked for this. I am going to relish this if this is the real story.
Yeah, it's weird because I was talking to my friends about this and I compared it to Torna basically, because in Torna you know that everyone's going to die at the end of it because that's the big thing, but they play that out and it's really Torna's really good, and while it has various story lulls in it because it makes you do a bunch of side quests, the ending scene where you still win, but then things go off the rails out of your control and stuff happens. They did it really, really well.
You don't know everything that was going to happen already in that, but you do know everything that's going to happen in the Calamity, because that's literally the only story there is in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. So the fact that they're going to completely retcon what happened to give players a happy ending, to purposely avoid the fact that, like you mentioned, you know, you would win a fight possibly easily because it's warriors, and then suddenly cutscene death. To completely avoid that, they just thought, well, fuck it, we'll guess that the players have to win then. And we'll retcon the story.
It's the goddamn funniest thing.
I can see it already.
Me reading that post, I went from, like, being horribly, like, sad and a little bit, depressed to being, like, fucking ecstatic and just like the biggest shit-eating grin popped on my face.
Yeah, so it's I can already see it where you do the missions where the champions would normally die and they're like about to be killed by the calamities, and then their future champions like appear last minute with a big save through a portal at all 4 locations, and they reclaim control of the divine beast, and then you get to play as the divine beast crushing everything during the calamity, like, because we already know that's a thing. I can see this all. What I think is the really funny part is, if this is true, they also bring back the Link and Zelda from the future, which, I mean, how does that work then? Will the future Link and Zelda, presumably they don't play differently because they don't have different icons on the thing, but will we just have missions where you're Link and there is another Link running around as well, and it's just that? And is he going to be any different, or are they literally just going to have the exact same movesets?
Oh, according to our nice leaks and rumors chat, which we have on our Discord, the 4chan post actually came out a few hours after this demo came out.
I thought it came out before.
But yeah, the
still, I mean, even if the fact isn't exactly right.
Yeah, the fact that they found the icons for the future champions in the demo, and there's time travel already.
Yeah, and the 2 tapestry thing with the champions on that. It seems like because some people thought maybe when the leaks came out, maybe the 4 champions would be DLC or post game like bonus characters. But the fact that they're on the tapestry as well, which is a big difference from the original game, is very obviously an indication that no, the old champions and the new champions will be fighting alongside each other. They have to we have to go forward in time, or more likely they have to come back through time to contribute in the fight against the calamity. And if that's going to happen, I can't see this going in a tragic way anymore. Maybe Link still dies, which would actually be really funny if Link was the only person to die.
But it's future Link.
No, Zelda. No, it's still past Link dies. Zelda unlocks her powers, but then but because Link doesn't really die, they put him in the Shrine of Resurrection.
So what I think is going to happen,
and then you got future Link for the fight. Yeah. That's when Link just takes over.
Yeah. So what I think is going to happen is that it's going to play out as it normally does, with the calamity happening, and then you're going to go into the future and you're going to bring the people back, and then you're going to redo the battles with the future people, and then you're going to win them.
It's gonna be like you see. It's gonna be like the first Warriors obviously had a point where it felt like the game ended,
Yeah.
when you see it, and then suddenly chapter 2, whatever, and you suddenly start playing as Ganondorf.
Yeah, and then
Gonna be like
you just
that,
come back
you
and you
suddenly
beat up all the people
forward.
you spent so long building up.
Yeah, you suddenly come from playing the either the villains or the champions and losing to suddenly the future champions and the future Link and Zelda.
Yeah,
beating up everyone else.
that would be something. What I am actually looking forward to seeing, because I don't know how they could do it, is them trying to set trying to make it obvious that the future and past people are different characters. Because if Link and Zelda do come back through time, if they don't have different costumes or look visually different enough, it's gonna be confusing.
Well, I mean, so here are two ways. Here are the ways I think they might do it. If Zelda's in her final part is wearing her white dress, then the future version of Zelda could be wearing the regular blue outfit that she normally has. Or they could alternatively have her already have the short hair that we know she has in Breath of the Wild too.
Yeah.
And then that's a way to differentiate. And in terms of Link, well, if he actually still does die and gets put in the Shrine of Resurrection, then they don't need to worry, because future Link and past Link will never interact.
But if they do interact,
future Link. If they do interact,
I think he would be wearing the Hylian tunic, like cross with the knight stuff that he wears in no, it's the cross of the Hylian tunic and the champion tunic in the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think the safest one is if they do interact, that's both of them. They'll give them the Breath of the Wild 2 outfits.
Probably. That is assuming the Breath of the Wild 2 versions of Link and Zelda are not the past selves like the leak, the quote-unquote leak claims they are.
Yeah, but that would be like, I mean, I could totally see, because one of the reasons they wanted to do this was to set up for Breath of the Wild 2, which, I mean, many people thought might be, maybe we'll see what that mummified guy is in this game, because they're doing the Calamity, or maybe the little robot in this game will show up in Breath of the Wild 2, and that's like the sort of, they want to explain that. But if this just creates a new timeline and then they just do Breath of the Wild 2 from said timeline instead of doing a sequel to Breath of the Wild,
that's going to be confusing for a lot of people who don't play this game but played Breath of the Wild.
Well, it just makes me
Breath of the Wild has sold like 20 million copies on the Switch and like 3 or something on the Wii U. Like, Christ.
I mean, do you know what this reminds me of?
What?
Kingdom Hearts.
Oh.
Kingdom Hearts, then Chain of Memory.
Oh no!
The actual sequel part, and then Kingdom Hearts 2, where you play it off. If you skip Chain of Memory, you have no idea how we got to where we are right now.
Oh no! Is Zelda gonna become as convoluted as Kingdom Hearts?
Just wait until the prequel Breath of the Wild game, where you're playing as Link and Zelda's ancestors. And it's set 1,000 years before when the Calamity first appears. And
the
you
Breath
find
of the Wild
Ganondorf
prequel
was
game.
The hero back there who gets possessed by Calamity, and then
I fucking hate that. I hate that theory so goddamn much.
The more I said that, the more I could see it happening, and the more I realized it was more Kingdom Hearts-esque.
Oh no! Don't give all new ideas.
Mr. Cynical says he's sad because he feels like it's false marketing if true. I know how they'll spin it, especially if they let you see the Calamity where everyone fails before throwing people back in time.
Oh, guys. One second. Did you guys just see that sick finisher on the footage? I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah,
Link just climbs on the Guardian and stabs him in the eye. Just like, holy shit.
Can't wait to do that when you've got like the pot and ladle. The eye with the pot.
I got a ladle in the demo.
Oh, did you? Oh, I didn't. Oh, cool. So you can get it without the pre-order
for some
stuff.
reason, it's just guaranteed with the pre-order stuff, which is weird. Because getting it so easily makes it like this kind of pointless pre-order bonus.
I mean, I didn't get it, so
you can see it. You can probably see it on my weapons list right now. Yeah, there it is. Third row, middle.
Third row in the middle. I'm watching the footage on YouTube, so it's a little bit.
Yeah, it'll show up. You'll see it.
Yeah. There's Link's stuff. Oh yeah, you're right. There it is. Well, yeah, of course you're right. You also had the boomerang, which I didn't find as well. So.
So we originally thought it's not the same ladle. Okay, cool. So we originally thought. I remember you guys speculating that there would be a boomerang moveset, but it's exactly the fucking same as the sword. You cannot throw it, as far as I know.
I think they threw it in the trailer, which is why we thought it was a new moveset.
Okay, I just haven't figured out how to throw it then.
Yeah, but maybe it's just a part of the combo you unlock. Or something.
Oh, the DLC is made out of metal. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, the story. Yeah. So the way I see Nintendo spinning it is, especially if, like what you said, you'd play it and then it cuts to the future ones and you go back and then change things.
Yeah.
Is that you will see the Calamity play out as it would have been originally, kind of, because they have some sort of future of it. And then once you've seen it play out, they'll go back and change it. So then it will be all new. And there's also an argument to be made that technically all the stuff that has happened so far we know did happen in Breath of the Wild. Characters like Impa still look like that 100 years ago. The time travel doesn't affect that. While Purah and Robbie did look like that and they still work together and thing. While the Little Guardian didn't show up in the original timeline, we still know that to prepare for the Calamity, Link and Zelda went to all of these locations and recruited the champions. And then Link and Zelda went to all of the places for Zelda to power up, and then all of the champions went to the last. Like, we know all of this stuff still happens, and it's all going to happen in this game. The only differences will be anything to do with mention of time travel, Zelda being a bit more active, and I guess potentially Impa also going with them. Like, maybe she didn't in the original timeline, but she is in this one now because of that. We also
the timeline has already split, like here. Because the tower appears and the Guardian comes from the future. Like, the timeline is changed already.
Yeah. Although, I guess, does that make it like a three-way timeline? Like, if the timeline splits now, this...
So there is a timeline where the Calamity occurs as normal, and if what we're theorizing is true, then this is an alternate timeline where the Calamity plays out as normal, but the Guardian is there and there's a tower. And then it goes into the future and creates another timeline where they win.
Yeah, so there's three...
And then it undoes the future, and makes your brain hurt trying to think about it for longer than a minute.
There's the we all lose timeline, the we all lose despite preparing for it this time timeline, and then the we win timeline.
Yeah.
So there's three timelines. That's three more places that Nintendo can start making sequels from without having to care about what's happened before.
I guess you could
still die, but they still had prep for it.
I guess you could justify it by making sure that they know to go back in time 100 years from now.
I mean,
I don't know, because like you create a time paradox because they obviously don't exist anymore. I don't know. Mean, maybe it's like I guess it's the same situation as Fire Emblem Awakening, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's a potential to be said that actually all of this did happen in the original Breath of the Wild, and they still died, but they put a contingency plan in case we die, find the Guardian, travel back in time, and create a new timeline. In which case, there are only two timelines, and this is a proper prequel to Breath of the Wild as we know it. But I mean, it doesn't feel that way for the very fact that the Guardian went back in time in the first place, I guess.
Yeah.
The Guardian I'm really interested in, and I really hope they do explain it, because at the moment it currently feels like it's a weird time paradox.
Oh my god.
Where it goes back, it wakes up during the Calamity, goes back in time, and then presumably just exists until the Calamity happens, where maybe it just gets put back in the box, and then it wakes up again and just repeats the whole thing, and no one knows who made it because it just popped into existence.
What about
time paradox?
Yeah. What if the little creature is the reason they know about the Shrine of Resurrection and the only reason Link survives?
You could be, although I feel like they implied that Impa and Pura were the ones who knew about it already, because I guess it's Sheikah stuff.
Well,
I mean,
the
we'll see
Guardian, the Guardian
game.
didn't exist when they were writing Breath of the Wild 1, so it
mean,
could be
true.
a retcon.
Very, very true. I guess we'll find out in this game whether or not it's canon.
They have not said. They have not said if it's canon or not.
They seem to imply that it was canon because I can't see. Oh, we want to show you the events that happened 100 years ago, but then not make it canon would be a very odd choice. I think whether or not you want to accept it as canon is going to depend entirely on what Breath of the Wild 2 decides to do. Like Breath of the Wild 2 is a very obvious follow-on from this.
Yeah.
And references the stuff that happens in this game, then this game is undoubtedly canon. If that doesn't happen, Breath of the Wild 2 is just a sequel to the first Breath of the Wild, and the only references they make are vague ones to like the Calamity again, then you could sort of chalk this up as being, yeah, the events of this game are canon, kind of, but they're like, they've been altered just specifically for this game. So Impa, characters like that all still look like this. Their it's like Pokemon Masters, that's a good example, where Pokemon Masters isn't canon, but the characters' personalities, their interactions with each other, like, and how they would react to each other, are all canon.
Mm-hmm.
So the characters, the ways they would play off of each other in this, the ways they look in this and act is fine and all canon, but the actual events of surviving the Calamity isn't canon. Like, that's how to look at it, like a half canon game and a half not.
Well, actually, if you think about it for longer than a second, the whole thing's not canon because the little Guardian is there.
Well, I mean, again, it depends on. They could. Link doesn't have any memories in Breath of the Wild 1, and Zelda doesn't have any reason to mention the little Guardian. We don't know what's going to happen to it, so potentially the little Guardian did exist back there, and they did know about the Calamity before Breath of the Wild, and
I don't know.
Like, it's hard to really say until we've seen how this game plays out, and also what Breath of the Wild 2 decides to do. But the fact that they wanted to make this game before, it could just be PR speak from Aonuma, but it could also be that they just wanted to make this game because it's going to have actual story ramifications.
Yeah, I feel like if it does like factor into the canon somehow, it'll definitely. That's the reason why this game seems so rushed and like unpolished.
So they really wanted it out.
They really wanted it out before Breath of the Wild 2. Which might actually come out next year.
Yeah, I feel like that is definitely what the target is for Breath of the Wild 2, and then this one this year. But
yeah, because next year is the big ol' 35th for Zelda.
Yeah, and so it would make sense to have DLC for this game take up next year, Breath of the Wild 2 come out at the end of next year, and I mean they could also just port like Wind Waker or Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword or whatever.
I feel like I hope if they do that they port the original versions.
I like
especially Wind Waker HD's weird, but Twilight Princess HD is so fucking bad.
I think it's just the way it looks.
The graphics are so bad.
Yeah, the graphics are bad. I think the gameplay wise, I think it offers the best of both. I feel
the gameplay experience is fine. There's improvements to the original game which could be done with hacks already in emulators, so they could easily hack in improvements like not making the rupee message pop up and stuff. But like overall, I hope they just emulate the GameCube version, please.
And but back to the story stuff. I mean, although we've covered the big thing, I feel like in terms of actual way the story will progress is once they got the champions and they go to the Shrine of Resurrection, the next step is obviously to go to they go to the Great Plateau. The next step is obviously to go get the Master Sword.
Yeah,
they do that. The OC villain shows up.
Yeah,
and we start getting hints about them, like in the cutscene. Then Zelda's next task is to go to the different fountains, and that's when I guess the Yiga and the OC villain will start being more proactively against them.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Calamity happens. So it's like Chapter 3 is them going to all the fountains. Chapter 4 is the Calamity. Chapter 5 will be the future champions coming back to save everybody.
The Yiga already attack Gerudo Town. That's the mission, right? Where you get Urbosa?
That's the Gerudo mission. That's where Koga first goes up.
Yeah, that makes sense because they're in that area anyway, and they attack a lot.
Yeah, and we know that they show up later because the mission at the Great Plateau is set after where Koga first appears. So I think they're just going to be. I think that's just their introduction to the player. And then from chapter 3 onwards, they'll just start showing up as regular enemies and stuff. But yeah, it is kind of annoying that they had Breath of the Wild almost effectively reboot the series to avoid all the timeline bullshit, and then immediately create a second timeline.
Yeah,
it's kind of annoying. It's really
I hope if they do make another timeline that they just go fuck it. Breath of the Wild is at the end of X timeline.
But alas.
Somebody says, I'm sorry, but Nintendo would not let this game be unpolished, especially with the Zelda franchise. They released Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition. Listen.
Yeah.
Nintendo doesn't give a shit anymore.
Unpolished doesn't mean bad. I mean, the game's still going to be good, but it doesn't mean it's going to be fully polished. I mean, Link's Awakening released with really bad frame rate drops.
Link's Awakening was super polished. It just, had frame rate issues in the swamp area and shit.
It wasn't perfectly polished.
Yeah,
so...
but neither was Breath of the Wild 2, because Breath of the Wild on Switch had horrible frame rate issues for the first year. Where if you played in docked, every time you sent an enemy flying, the frame rate would kill itself. But yeah. Nintendo's no stranger to releasing unpolished Zelda games anymore. They don't hold them back for several years until they're done anymore. They just release them.
Yeah, especially it's because they can just update them post-launch. It's not a case where everything needs to be perfect right from the gate. If there are going to be issues like this, they don't, rather than delay it, they'd rather just release, as long as it's playable, release it while playable, and we can update it later. Which is a stance a lot of companies take.
I said what was wrong with Definitive Edition before, but to reiterate, what they did was they released a horrible, unbalanced, and glitchy mess that looks worse than the Wii U version because the lighting is flat and over bright, and they remove all mood lighting, and it's just not the best version of the game. If you want the best version of Hyrule Warriors, go play Hyrule Warriors Legends on your new 3DS.
Oh, the Wii U version. And
the Wii U version's good, but it does not have all the maps.
I mean, all right, true, but what do those maps really add? There's already enough content.
That's fair. But yeah, the Switch version's not good. They never patched it to fix anything. The game runs in 1080p in portable mode because they did not give a shit.
That is dumb.
Yeah.
And also, this game will be canon. There's no ifs or buts, especially because, well, yeah. I mean, I expect the game to be canon, but there's ways to look at it. We'll see.
They have not explicitly confirmed it yet, so we don't.
Yeah. But I think that's everything. That's what we fully expect to happen with this story.
Who do you think the OC villain is?
I suppose that's a good question. So, I think it's the fortune teller that everyone has been speculating it to
Yeah, I
be.
think so too. I think he manipulated the king into unearthing all these artifacts so he could gain the advantage in the war. But I also think he's Ganondorf. In the Aghanim way that Ganondorf is Aghanim.
Yeah. It's definitely the Aghanim situation.
Yes.
Where I
wouldn't be surprised if this character was literally named Aghanim.
Yeah, I mean that would be. I would like that personally as a neat reference to Aghanim, because I was actually always of the proponent that if they ever made a Hyrule Warriors 2, I would want them to put a bigger focus on A Link to the Past and have an Aghanim-like character, even if it's the next OC.
Yeah, I would like them if they ever do a real Hyrule Warriors 2 to introduce some more games.
Yeah, well, because you know how the first Hyrule Warriors had a big emphasis on the NES game, with the adventure mode map and all the bosses most of the bosses, I should say, being from the NES Zelda.
Yeah.
I was hoping that if they did a sequel, they would do it, but A Link to the Past instead. So all the adventure mode maps would use the A Link to the Past style, and there'd be like, instead of Volvagia and a Wizrobe, it'd be like the Helmarok King in human form and Blind the Thief from Link to the Past.
Oh, that'd be
like
cool.
playable characters, and then like big bosses be from that game as well.
That'd be cool.
So having him being part of that was always something I wanted to see. But I think that's the case because while it's clearly got all the Ganon symbolism and it's got like the Gerudo cape and stuff like this, the OC
And he has the jewel on the head.
Yeah, the jewel on the head, and it could be a she, to be fair, because all we've really seen is the hooded version and the face.
Yeah, that's fair, but I think he shares a lot in common with Girahim.
Girahim and Yuga, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also
they were very effeminate.
It's also, it could have been the lighting, but it's also worth noting that the character appears to be blonde and not red-haired, like Gerudo's are.
I think that was just the lighting.
I mean, it could be the lighting, but there's an interesting point in the... this would be a really interesting twist, which I don't necessarily think it will happen, but the choosing champions book says that the fortune teller could also potentially be the Queen of Hyrule, or like they're the same person. And we never see Zelda's mother. So it'd be a really interesting twist if Zelda's mother was actually also like secretly plotting, like an agent of Ganon and playing the long game, plotting all of this. And maybe even had some sort of a reason for why Zelda was struggling so much to get her powers, like maybe in some way or form. The fact that this villain, we don't know the gender really, and at least it looked like the character was blonde, sort of doubled down me on this idea because it would match Zelda's look.
That'd be interesting.
The only thing about it is how obviously evil they look, and all the sort of, unless Zelda's mum is thought to have been dead, because I think she's confirmed to have. I mean, obviously she died because everyone died, but like even like in the flashbacks, is already dead at that point.
Yeah, I thought she was already dead. I thought there was like a journal entry about that or something. I don't remember.
Well, that's what I think. The fact that the Champions book mentions that the fortune teller could also have potentially been the Queen of Hyrule makes me think maybe it's a fake death, or she did die, and Ganondorf or the Calamity or whatever took over, and she's basically a zombie. For instance,
yeah, no, that could be an option.
It could also be just an exposure to monster parts, because while we haven't obviously hooded, so we haven't seen the exact skin color yet. It seems to be the dark and evilish skin color that like Keaton has. Keaton being like obsessed with monsters and has monster parts all over the place.
Now, like, you say that, but I think Aghanim also had purple skin.
I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah.
In artwork, yeah.
I feel like Ganondorf back then... Ganondorf also has really weird grey skin in some parts. Like in some Ocarina of Time artwork and Ocarina and Smash Brothers, and I think as well in the one appearance of him in Link to the Past, although I don't know if that's official artwork or not. Yeah. Where he's like wrapped up in like a turban and stuff. I think he also has the grey skin.
That is official.
Yeah. So we'll see, but they're definitely the OC villain. I'm really curious to see what their role in this is, especially because I'm assuming you didn't mention it, but after chapter 2, it seems like there's an evil version of the little Guardian robot. Oh yeah. Spying on them, which I can only assume is controlled by the OC villain.
What if that is the Guardian and they purify it somehow?
That would explain where the Guardian came from and how it ends up where it is. Because you'd have to assume, this is the part I'm not as fully sure on because of the time travel. You see bits of the Calamity come back in time as well. And it can be and it can be assumed that bit of the Calamity, like one of them is what entered that Guardian and caused it to awaken in chapter 2. But then presumably the OC villain isn't caused by this time travel stuff, was always there, and it's the reason the Calamity awoke in the first place. So does this calamity that's come from the future, has it given the fortune teller like?
Are you sure it's
strength
from
and
the future though?
I think it is, because remember the big guardian tries to shoot it, and then
Yeah, but
Calamity
it could just be like the Ganon evil like just emerging because they managed to release some of it.
I mean,
It
I
is
guess it's
also
not-
the breach of demise, so it's kind of an evil-ish place.
I mean, I guess it could be either way, but I feel like I mean, it could also just be misdirection. Like they want us to think that it's the calamity has also come back in time,
It could
and
be,
it's
yeah.
also caused all this, and then actually, so that the reveal of it being the fortune teller, whatever, is a bigger reveal. Although if that was the case, he shouldn't have revealed the character in a trailer, but whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be Yuga. Like, I don't think this OC villain, unless they've named it Aghanim as a reference to Aghanim, is going to be anyone we've seen. Like, it won't be called Girahim, Yuga, Vati. It'll be like, it'll either be called Agahim as a reference, or it will be called Ganondorf because it's just Ganondorf this time.
Or
it'll
just a
have
name.
the original name.
Yeah.
I don't think it is Ganondorf because I still think Ganondorf is the guy who's underground in Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, of course he is.
But it's interesting.
But it could be a projection the same way Aghanim was, because they are. It is confirmed in A Link to the Past that he is Ganondorf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be. We'll just have to see what they decide to go with.
It's Malice from the future that followed the Guardian when he opened the gate.
Yeah, that's the Malice I was. Yeah, that was the Malice I was referencing.
Oh, okay.
It came back in time with the Guardian.
Okay, so this just happened.
Yeah, like so like because the Guardians wouldn't have come back alive in the past until the Hylians actually managed to activate it themselves.
I want to know where the giant laser beam that the Guardian shot through the time portal went.
Just
because presumably they didn't all go back to the same place.
Okay, maybe it depends. It might have just fired out the second the Guardian did as well, and the Malice was just flying around Hyrule or whatever. Who knows? Yeah. We'll just have to see.
Do you think? One last thing. Do you think the future champions are going to be clones of the past champions?
No, I don't. Specifically because Riju and Sidon won't be able to be clones of Mipha and Urbosa because they're different sides. I don't think
they just have to adapt the animations.
I mean, I guess Sidon potentially could be, even though I don't think we ever saw him with a spear. But I don't see Riju being able to be. I feel like Riju's going to have a moveset based more around the sand seals. And
yeah, that's true.
She might have lightning abilities with the crown and stuff.
Yeah,
both
maybe.
have, but I don't see her using I don't see it being like a 1-to-1. The others could be. Yonobu and Teba could easily be clones of the future champions.
Honestly, Teba's like the least impactful future champion. So like Teba being a Rivali clone wouldn't surprise me because he's just Rivali but stoic.
I think if it depends. They're either all going to be clones of the past champions, or they're all going to be unique. I don't think they're going to half-ass it, like make Riju and Sidon unique, but then Yonobu and Teba are as clones. I think it'll be one or the other.
It could possibly be they share this like very similar movesets. They share some same moves, but some things are changed up. Because somebody in chat confirmed that the first combo with the boomerang is slightly different, and he does throw it in one point during the combo.
Yeah, I guess.
So they could just change it up. It'd be like a slight variation of their same weapons. Cody Petite asks, do you think Gino will get into Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity?
I don't think he will. No, he's going to be going.
What if the OC villain is Gino?
Oh shit, maybe. Actually, I mean, he could be a puppet, for Ganondorf. G and Gino stands for Ganon. There we go. I mean, so when the Calamity comes back to life, well, they say that, but then there's also references to Link fighting a Calamity 100. No, not fighting a Calamity, fighting the Guardians 100 years ago. because there's stories about how he defeated one with a pot lid and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So they clearly activated them and they were antagonistic at some point.
I think the OC villain is going to explain that, because they already have like the evil little guardian, so they could be controlling some guardians themselves. And by the way, malice is something made up for the English localization.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thing. It's just evil energy.
Yeah, it's just evil, spooky energy.
Yep.
Energy of demise. Keep it in line with all the other Zelda games.
The one Zelda game.
No. Demise is in evil energy is in every Zelda game. It explains every evil. Have you not played the ending of Skyward
It explains how there's one guy who exists in every single game, and he's the same guy every single time, but they needed an explanation for it, because it being the same guy doesn't make sense, because they put Four Swords Adventures into the timeline and it's a fucking reincarnation.
It's all demise. Whoops, everything's demise.
I blame Four Swords Adventures for fucking up the timeline.
I blame Miyamoto for making them change where Four Swords Adventures had to place in the timeline, okay? It was meant to be a sequel to Ocarina of Time and a prequel to A Link to the Past, god damn it.
Yeah.
That was the intention, which is why so much of it looks like A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
And then Miyamoto was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And so they just had to add it somewhere else.
And then they changed it to Toon Link.
Yeah. And then whoop-de-doo, there you go.
Because, like, every single other enemy, aside from, like, some bosses who are just, like, PNGs from Wind Waker, that are, like, A Link to the Past styled. All the NPCs are A Link to the Past styled. There's such an artistic clash in that game.
Yeah, it's because it's clearly that thing. It's meant to be a prequel to A Link to the Past, and then they decided to poof it elsewhere, and then they decided that, well, I guess we'll just use the same Toon Link style that we've used for all the other Four Swords games in the series. So
Miyamoto comes in like, why the fuck aren't you remaking A Link to the Past? You're not allowed to make a fucking prequel to it.
I have one story for every one of my series that I like to tell over and over again. And this is not that story. Make it. Just joined. Don't know if you guys answered, but do you have a character you're most looking forward to? Hestu for me.
I want to see the OC. I hope they have a fun, unique playstyle, because for me, the original Hyrule Warriors, while Young Link was my favorite of the base game, my favorite character to play was Lana.
Yeah, Lana's alright. She had a lot of variation. I think it depends. Triforce Heroes is canon, and it's not set in Hyrule. It's set in
my god,
Utopia, I think. Cody,
fucking Triforce Heroes.
Triforce Heroes is canon, though.
It's a sequel to A Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, where Link decides he's really going to get fashionable for a bit. Which, you know what, good on him. You got to have a hobby. I'm curious if the OC villain is playable, though, because presumably, unless the OC villain is the Ganondorf that appears at the end of that list, they're not playable because they don't have a map icon.
Yeah.
Unless they add it, which I guess we can transition into this is the final point. DLC-wise, I mean, I would assume they would do it because they've done DLC for basically every single Warriors game, and it's pretty easy money.
Yeah.
But the fact that they obviously haven't done everyone. Purah and Robbie aren't playable yet, and they could easily be upgraded. And then there are fan favorites like Cass,
yeah,
playable that could be very easy DLC.
Let's bring back the 4 skilled and trained fighters who are the new champions into the past. And let's also bring this accordion dude. We need some ambiance.
Well, will any DLC they add be sort of canon, or will it? Because that's the thing, there isn't an adventure mode in this as much as missions around the map.
There's a little blurb of text when you unlock your first side mission that says it is a mission from another time. So that's how they're going to explain all those things. It's not just like the characters fucking off to do whatever. It's a different timeline. Oh god, there's another timeline. Oh fuck!
This is the line where Link just fought knights over and over again. Link was the Calamity this time. No, I mean, it's just like, I did see that text, and it did make me think, like, why? What's even the point for that one? It is very strange.
It's because they're making everything like diegetic. I
mean,
guess.
it's just. I feel like it's just a weird way to not have these side missions be canon,
because they're not
keep up consistency in the world.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty obvious that they're not doing an adventure mode this time. It's just going to be those missions on the map, which is kind of disappointing because adventure mode had so many levels, and so did history mode and Fire Emblem Warriors.
Yeah, and I feel like my problem with them doing it on the map is that you don't want the map to be so clogged up with icons that it becomes like too obnoxious to see anything.
Yeah, that could definitely be a big problem.
Yeah, they'll have a strong limit on how many side missions they have, and unless they just suddenly decide to open up a new map and then just add more side missions onto it, there's just going to be a very strong limit. Whereas in Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors, they could just easily just add another map in that had all these self-contained missions and keep them going forever, which they just won't do this time.
One of the DLC characters is just Lu Bu from Dynasty Warriors. He's just like, hey guys, I'm from China. Hi.
Isn't that basically already Volga anyway from Hyrule Warriors?
Kinda.
Except he can turn into a dragon.
Kinda. He's like the OP dude who's in most Dynasty Warriors games that you can just unlock and destroy everything.
He's a popular Dynasty Warriors character.
Age of Calamity is gonna be easier than Hyrule Warriors, just for the pure fact that there's less enemies.
Yeah. Very hard mode, which I've already done the first 2 levels on, was much easier than I was expecting it to be. So I'm fully expecting this game to be much easier. Like the difficulty, that's the thing. The difficulty in Hyrule Warriors came from the side missions, not the main story missions.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on what they really do with the side missions. And if the side missions are like what they are just right now, which feels like it's going to be the case, then they probably won't be too hard.
Yeah.
If they do decide to do something completely different post-game, then sure. Because post-game content is the other thing I'm sort of looking for. Adventure mode was a great way to keep training up characters.
Somebody brings up a good idea, which could be that once you unlock the future, it could be a whole different map for like post-game stuff.
That would be a good idea. I wouldn't mind that. It'd be a bit. I mean, I guess they're warping across anyway, so it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because I was about to say Lon Lon Ranch would be destroyed in the future, so that wouldn't work. But I guess if they're traveling through different worlds, it's just a map. It doesn't
already
matter.
You see in adventure mode they block off some areas. They could easily just do that.
I mean, no, but they could, but it just mean that you couldn't have even if it was in Hyrule Field, you'd still see Mabe Village and all that all still up and stuff when it wouldn't be if it's the future. So
we saved the world, everybody, but we did not rebuild. Everything is the same.
I feel like
we just decided to fuck off and leave Hyrule because we're tired of this Ganon shit.
They might call it the future map, but the fact that the game's already been like these side missions take place potentially in another world, means that they'll probably just walk back in time and so that they don't have to change the maps at all.
Yeah. That's a decent idea though. It would keep the main map less cluttered.
Yeah, I would prefer that idea. Personally, so yeah, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how it connects to Breath of the Wild 2 when that comes out.
If it does,
if it does, which I feel like it probably will. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So I think this is probably a good time to wrap up now. We've been talking.
Does anybody have any last minute questions? Because we were gonna take questions, but we've been talking a lot. I mean, we have been taking some questions. Does anybody have any questions in particular for us?
Yeah, any not dire is not the right word. Any pressing questions?
Yeah.
About anything in this, and while we wait for the stream to catch up and people to think,
I'm about to do the sick execution move on the Guardian again.
Yeah. That Guardian was actually really tough when I played it. Like all my allies died. I actually had a game over one doing this because I accidentally swapped to Impa when I didn't mean to, and she had like no health.
I did the same
Because
thing.
her AI had been taken down so much.
I did the same thing.
I was like,
Do you like the music? Yeah, I think this game already has a better soundtrack than Breath of the Wild.
I mean, that's not too hard. Breath of the Wild basically doesn't have. I mean, it
Breath
has
of the Wild has like a
It's
few ambient tracks, the Divine Beast themes, and like the final boss theme. That's it.
Has anyone clarified that this isn't what they meant by the sequel? What do you? What I don't get what you mean by that.
They
I mean,
literally
it's
said
prequel.
they literally said this is not Breath of the Wild 2 in the reveal.
Yeah, this is a prequel to Breath of the Wild. It's its own thing. It's not Breath of the Wild 2. Did you guys kill the Guardian in this game? Yes.
I'm about to kill it right
You
now.
had to do it now. A lot of people thinking Breath of the Wild 2 was going to have time travel in it. I mean, people might have been speculating about it. That I think there was a theory that Link and Zelda would travel back to before the calamity happened to be like try and stop it at its root. But I mean, it's not confirmed. It's just a theory, and that could still happen regardless of what happens in this game. Just because Zelda's not foreign to time travel, so it doesn't have to be exclusive to one game.
Will you be streaming the game on release day? Most likely, yes.
Yeah, I've got to decide. Because I streamed the demo, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed streaming the demo. I wouldn't mind continuing.
Either Nantan or I will be streaming it.
Yeah, the thing with Hyrule Warriors for me is Hyrule Warriors was the game I would play to zone out at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
I played at like 10 in the evening, 11 in the evening, just to chill on the sofa and mash buttons until I felt like I wanted to go to bed. And I'm assuming this game will probably become the same. I don't want it to be like Pokemon where I'm waiting every single week to play the next chapter. So I could stream it on release date, but I might not stream it beyond that, except for the random occasions when I feel like it.
I was surprised that Gex is in the eye of the Guardian on the thumbnail. By the way, there's a little reflection. The Guardian's looking at a copy of Gex 3 for the N64. So like the one thing I was surprised about with this game is that Age of Calamity has its own theme. I was expecting them to just use the Breath of the Wild theme, but no, it's got its own theme with like a distinct 4-note melody, and that's interesting. I was not expecting that.
It's cool though. I like that. Last Beedle for a playable DLC. I mean, I could see Beedle being playable DLC. He'd be a fun.
That'd be cool.
Addition. The characters I feel are most likely for DLC, other than Purr and Robbie, because they already have models and are already popular characters, would be Cass, because it's Cass and he's like the most popular side character. Keaton, because I think he'd have a fun moveset, being all the monster parts and stuff. And then, Beedle, because he's like really Beedle, and then the painting guy, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. The Sheikah guy who goes around and paints things.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, why not? He's a Sheikah, so he's probably trained enough for combat. He could have an art-based moveset. And that's the thing, Breath of the Wild has a lot of characters, but how many of these characters are actually, like, memorable characters? Like, you could say maybe King Zora or the King of the Rito tribe, Chieftain of the Rito, but I'm not sure on the latter. King Zora, maybe, but he could also be too big. Dorpheus, whatever his name is. Like, there aren't, because they just got to pick from one game.
I am fairly certain I'm fairly certain there will be a playable Paya.
I don't know if Paya would. See, I would have been fairly certain on the playable Paya, but the fact that Impa looks so much like Paya makes me just think that actually Impa's just gonna be that. Like, if Paya, she could have a complete different moveset, but she would look too much like her grandmother.
They have different outfits, kind of.
Yeah, but it's very subtle. I feel like in the actual game, it's harder to tell.
Well,
like
Linkle would be a cool inclusion if they do that.
Yeah, it depends on what they want to do for the DLC, I suppose.
Because, like, the DLC, if it's not canon, they can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, if the DLC isn't not canon or because that was the thing. Hyrule Warriors had the first set of DLC, and then because they released the 3DS version, they did another set of DLC. as well. On top of that.
Oh, I
So-
want to redact my previous comments about Lana. Linkle's actually my favorite character to play. In Hyrule Warriors, that is my favorite character.
I mean, I could see them bringing Linkle back because she was a very popular
She's
character.
very
that
popular, and they really like her actually. Even in the main Zelda team, they're like, "You thinking about putting Linkle in the main series?" And they're like, "Maybe."
Yeah, I mean, I could see Linkle being added as a DLC character just for fun.
Yeah.
Like, just to have an OC Breath of the Wild version of Linkle.
Or maybe they add like a DLC campaign where she's off getting lost again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? They added Linkle and they added the DLC campaign. They also added the DLC campaign for the OC villains.
Yeah.
It's going to be a question of whether we get that back again.
Yeah, they didn't do it for Fire Emblem Warriors, which I was surprised about.
Yeah, well, that Fire Emblem Warriors was more like the other Warriors games, so they had a lot of characters who weren't playable.
Yeah,
and then just upgraded a few of them.
Yeah, but like there was a distinct villain with his own arc and stuff. But I think the reason that he wasn't playable is because I think in his NPC appearance he played the same as Rowan.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild Tingle.
Yes. It's going to be interesting what they do for DLC, because the thing with the Hyrule Warriors got so much DLC because they ended up porting it to 3DS and then deciding to give that its own DLC. Whereas this obviously isn't going to get ported to anything.
They're working closely with the Zelda team for this one. They did not work closely with them for any of the original Hyrule Warriors games. They came up with their own ideas, like asked for approval, and like sure. But that opens the possibility for some Breath of the Wild styled classic Zelda characters.
Yeah, that would be nice. Like if I could pick anything for the DLC, presumably it being non-canon, that would be my choice. Give me characters like Midna and Tingle and Girahim if they were in Breath of the Wild with these sort of newish designs that mesh in with the thing, like that, with the style. That's what I wanted to see, obviously from Impa, to see how she would look in this. And that's what I would want to see from others. Like, what would Medley look like in Breath of the Wild style, considering the
Rito are completely different.
Very different.
Would they cop out or make her look exactly like Wind Waker, or would they redesign her?
I would hope, if they want, considering it worked for Hyrule Warriors because it was such a mismatch of every single Zelda style.
Well,
at least they stuck to all the adult Link ones because they're the easiest to fit.
It was a consistent art style until they did the 3DS version.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even then, you can kind of tell the difference between the Ocarina of Time style ones, the Twilight Princess ones, and the all you have to do is look at Ganondorf's costumes for all of them, and you can see the distinct difference between Ocarina of Time looking Ganondorf, who doesn't look right in that game. And
that's because they reused models.
But even with the coloring thing, there's clearly more detail on the Twilight Princess one. The ones in Ocarina of Time have much brighter and more primary colors. Like
the new models they made for Midna and Agatha are very, very closely in the same style as everything else. It also helps that Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess have the same character designer, and they based their interpretation of the Zelda characters off of his style. He also consulted with them on that. He's the only Nintendo artist in the credits, I believe. Based Yusuke Nakano. Please come back for the main series.
But I mean, I feel like if they wanted things to be consistent, they should if they're going to redesign, they probably just wouldn't do Wind Waker characters, to be honest. But if they did, I'd want them to be designed as if they were in this game. It'd be really strange if they added Medley and she's the only Rito who doesn't look like any of the other Ritos in the game. And looks more like a Hylian cosplaying as a Rito. It would be just a bit too weird.
Do you think maybe we'll see the legacy costumes for Link in this game?
Yeah, that I do think. I think DLC costumes will definitely be a thing. And I mean, I said it earlier where I'd want it for other characters, like me an old man costume for King Rome,
Uh-huh.
he's got the hood and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Zelda's got a whole plethora of costumes she can have. Impa obviously, Impa of Empire obviously don't, because we've only ever seen them wear the one outfits. But
Yeah.
there's other Sheikah outfits that they could have that Link would usually wear. There's various things they could do for all of them. So I would like to see the DLC costumes come back like they did in Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah. And they already have the models for it, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
I think that is about
that is really
it.
everything.
2 hours and 30 minutes.
Very long discussion.
Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this new format of discussion. This is like the first discussion type thing we're doing live that isn't a Good Morning Source Gaming.
Yeah. End up being longer than a Good Morning Source Gaming.
We've gone longer than this on Good Morning Source Gaming. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let us know what you think about Age of Calamity, our thoughts, or things that you think might happen in the comments below. And if you like what we do, donating to us on Patreon helps a lot, but also leaving a comment and a like helps a lot too. It pushes us further up in the YouTube algorithm, and it helps more people see us. Thank you all for watching again, and always remember to return to the source.